Chapter 184. On the 3rd day of November, snowflakes covered the sky and covered the earth. Gusts of strong wind sounded between the heavens and the earth. In the gloomy great hall of the Guiyuan sect, it was very quiet. Zhuge Yuanhong sat alone on the seat of the sovereign of the Guiyuan sect. The others had not arrived yet. Previously, they had set a time for everyone to rush over after the morning exercise. It was obvious that Zhuge Yuanhong had arrived too early. Qinghu Island, Qinghu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong narrowed his eyes. Killings happened in the cities of Shuyang County and Tianan County on the same day. Even a blind man could guess that it was Qinghu Island who did it. Guyong, are you reminding me that you are going to make a move soon? Among the people of the same generation, there were only a few people that Zhuge Yuanhong valued. Guyong was one of them. Guyong, the island lord of Qinghu Island. He was one of the 8 most powerful people in the land of the 9 prefectures. Guyong and Zhuge Yuanhong were about the same age. When they were young, these two were the most famous people in Yangzhou. Now, one of them was the island lord of Qinghu Island, and the other was the sovereign of the Guiyuan sect. However, if you really want to eat up the Guiyuan sect, I will make you lose all your teeth. A cold light flashed in Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes. Who in the land of the 9 prefectures didn't know about Guiyuan Zhuge's wisdom? Although Zhuge Yuanhong treated people humbly, very few people dared to offend Zhuge Yuanhong. Amidst the howling wind, 2 young disciples finally entered the great hall. These 2 disciples were in charge of serving tea and serving people. This damn weather. Snow and strong wind. Why did the heavy snow come so early this year? Who knows? Jiangning County City is close to the East Sea. Normally, it only snows in the middle of winter. This year, it is really early. Strange. The 2 young disciples muttered. Because of the heavy snow and strong wind, the great hall was rather dark. The 2 disciples were about to light up the 6 large lamps by the wall. This lamp was made of top-grade bronze, and every single one of them was beautifully crafted. Usually, if there was a gathering in the hall at night, or if it was gloomy, these 6 large lamps would be lit. Chi! A lamp lit up. The entire hall became much brighter. One of the disciples turned around and walked towards another seat lamp. When he saw the figure sitting in the main hall in the distance, he was shocked. Grandmaster! Grandmaster! The 2 young disciples came to their senses. You guys go ahead and light up the lamp, Zhuge Yuanhong said calmly. Yes. The 2 young disciples immediately became cautious and didn't dare to make another sound. Following the arrival of the 2 disciples, the elders and protectors soon arrived one after another. Everyone was surprised that the sect master had arrived so early today, and they all sat down according to their positions. The 6 lamps burned for a long time, and with the large number of people, the hall seemed to be much warmer. A large group of people from the Black Armored Corps came as a group. Ting Qingshan, Pang Shan, Zhang Feng and Guan Lu naturally sat at the front, while the other commandant sat at the back. Master! Ting Qingshan and the rest bowed. Seeing Ting Qingshan, Zhang Feng and Guan Lu, Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and nodded. Sit down first, and wait for the 2 enforcement elders. Ting Qingshan was a little surprised. Master came early today. Soon, an old man in plain clothes and a middle-aged man in white walked in side by side. The 2 enforcement elders naturally sat at the head of the 2 rows on the left and right. The 2 of them smiled and nodded at Ting Qingshan, and didn't pay attention to the others. Ting Qingshan, you're not bad. The middle-aged man sitting at the head of Ting Qingshan smiled and said. Outside the hall, the wind howled and the snow swirled. Inside the hall, there was only silence. Only the sound of the lamps burning could be heard. Everyone looked at the sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong, waiting for the sovereign to speak. Our Guiyuan sect has been established for more than 1,000 years, and we have countless disciples. However, there are only about 40 people who reach the innate realm. Zhuge Yuanhong said loudly. Among them, the youngest to reach the innate realm, was at the age of 136. The youngest to reach the innate realm was at the age of 28 in the past 1,000 years. Many people in the hall knew very well that when the sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong reached the innate realm, he was only 30 years old. However, our Gui Yuan sect has a new innate ranker, and he is only 17 years old. Zhuge Yuanhong's voice was loud and clear, and he was extremely proud. In the entire land of the 9 prefectures, there is only one in the past 500 years. The only one. Everyone should know who he is. Everyone's gaze turned to Ting Qingshan. These gazes were filled with excitement, admiration, disbelief, and jealousy. Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong said loudly. He reached the innate realm at the age of 17. Haha, I only reached it at the age of 30. If a person started cultivating at the age of 5, Qingshan only cultivated for 12 years, and I cultivated for 25 years to reach the innate realm. I am 2 times slower than Qingshan. I don't feel ashamed, I only feel proud. Because he is my disciple. Because he is the disciple of our Gui Yuan sect. Not the disciple of the 8 great sections. So what if the 8 great sects are strong? The number 1 genius in the past 500 years is still in our Gui Yuan sect. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but feel proud. That's right. The number 1 genius in the past 500 years in the land of the 9 prefectures belongs to our Gui Yuan sect. Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan immediately stood up. From today onwards, you are the 3rd law-enforcing elder of our Gui Yuan sect. You are also the youngest law-enforcing elder in our history. Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Ting Qingshan and said slowly, regarding cultivation, I don't need to say much. I just want to tell you. I hope that after 10 years, the disciples of our Gui Yuan sect will be proud of you. Our Gui Yuan sect will be glorious because of you. Hearing this, Ting Qingshan's chest was burning. This is the law-enforcing elder's token. Keep it well. Zhuge Yuanhong handed it to Ting Qingshan solemnly. Ting Qingshan also received the token solemnly. Ting Qingshan, congratulations. The white-haired elder opposite him said with a smile. Our Gui Yuan sect also has one more law-enforcing elder. The cold-looking middle-aged man also smiled. The atmosphere in the main hall was filled with joy. Everyone congratulated Ting Qingshan. Even Zhang Feng, who felt bitter and jealous, congratulated Ting Qingshan. This was because everyone was very clear that an extraordinary genius had appeared in the Gui Yuan sect. In the future, the Gui Yuan sect would become even more powerful. A strong Gui Yuan sect was beneficial to everyone. Just as everyone was happily drinking tea and chatting in the main hall, a figure suddenly rushed in at top speed. Sovereign! A loud shout silenced the whole main hall. Many people angrily turned to look at the door. When they saw the person, they were surprised. The gray-robed middle-aged man ran into the main hall and said, Sovereign, an urgent secret letter. Zhuge Yuanhong frowned and shouted, Close the door. Although the disciples guarding the door were puzzled, they still slammed the door shut. The main hall became slightly dark. Only the 6 lamps were left to illuminate the hall. Give me the secret letter. Zhuge Yuanhong said. The gray-robed middle-aged man immediately handed over a rolled-up piece of paper. Zhuge Yuanhong lowered his head and read it. Everyone in the main hall quietened down. Everyone felt that the atmosphere was not right. What could have caused the secret letter to be sent to the main hall? Could it be that it was late by 2 hours? It showed how urgent the matter was. Why did the sovereign not even read the secret letter and ordered to close the door? This series of events caused everyone to feel puzzled and uneasy. As expected. Zhuge Yuanhong sneered and looked at the group of people in the main hall. Everyone was looking at the sovereign expectantly. Zhuge Yuanhong said in a clear voice, Yesterday, in Shuyang County and Tianan County, there were fights for power in various cities. The people fighting are from gangs, small sects, and so on. Many people in the main hall were puzzled. Tianan County and Shuyang County were chaotic. Was it strange to fight? However, Ting Qingshan and the others with sharp minds had already noticed the problem. Fighting for power on the same day? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. At this moment, Zhuge Yuanhong continued, last night, the riots in the cities of Shuyang County and Tianan County were probably pacified. This morning, the cities of Shuyang County and Tianan County announced to the public that from today onwards, Shuyang County and Tianan County will be ruled by Qinghu Island. Everyone's facial expression changed drastically. Qinghu Island will rule over those two counties? How can it be so fast? All of them were extremely shocked. Everyone understood how terrifying this information was. This news was spread as fast as possible. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at everyone and said with a gloomy face, from today onwards, 11 of the 13 counties of Yangzhou will be ruled by Qinghu Island. They have an absolute advantage. I think everyone can see that Qinghu Island ruled over Shuyang County and Tianan County very quickly. Ting Qingshan started to worry. How can it be so fast? Obviously, Qinghu Island has been preparing for this for a long time. Many sects and gangs in Shuyang County and Tianan County belong to Qinghu Island. They have the confidence to rule over Shuyang County and Tianan County. However, why didn't they do it in the past? Why did they only do it today? Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes were sharp. Many elders and protectors had cold sweat on their foreheads. They weren't stupid. Qinghu Island was extremely powerful and could have ruled over Shuyang County and Tianan County long ago. Why did they wait until today? Why did they announce it to the public? When I saw Gu Yong that year, I knew he was ambitious. The cold-looking middle-aged man said angrily. If they dare to come, we won't let them have an easy time. Pang Shan said angrily. Everyone realized that. Qinghu Island dared to announce that Shuyang County and Tianan County were under their rule. The meaning was clear. Guiyuan sect and Tai Hall, just wait for Qinghu Island to take care of you. No one doubted Qinghu Island's ability to destroy Guiyuan sect and Tai Hall. After all, Qinghu Island's resources were too deep and they had too many men. For example, Guiyuan sect's Black Armored Corps only had 6,000 men, while Qinghu Island's Silver Dragon Army had 80,000 men. Although the overall quality of the army was slightly weaker, it was almost the same. The worst part was that the number of innate experts in Qinghu Island was a few times more than that of Guiyuan sect and Tai Hall combined. Qinghu Island had occupied the 9 counties and developed for so many years. No matter if it was ordinary people, elite experts, or innate experts, they could all suppress their opponents. Qinghu Island didn't make a move because it was afraid of destroying Guiyuan sect and Tai Hall and losing too many men. Other great sects would take advantage of it. Ting Qingshan also felt an unprecedented pressure. But now that it dares to do this, it's obvious that it has confidence. It's been hiding for so long, but once it does... The other people in the Great Hall all had ugly expressions on their faces. Many of them were so scared that cold sweat appeared on their foreheads. If they really fought, Guiyuan sect would probably be razed to the ground. P.S. Update complete. Roar roar, the climax has begun. Now the recommendation votes and monthly votes are lagging behind. Maybe it has something to do with the lack of climax in the past few days. However, Tomato hopes that everyone can bear with it. After all, it can't be a climax every day. It needs some time. Everyone, throw your votes and recommendation votes to Tomato. Chapter 185. In the Great Hall of the Guiyuan sect, the door was tightly shut. Sizzle, the sound of the 6 lamps burning was very clear in the Great Hall. The atmosphere in the Great Hall was completely frozen. Many people's foreheads were covered with sweat. Some of them had pale faces, and some of them clenched their fists tightly. Even the higher-ups of the Gui Yuan sect were very nervous under the pressure of Qing Hu Island's impending attack. Look at you all, Zhuge Yuanhong said angrily. The group of people in the great hall quivered and looked at the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong. Qing Hu Island's people haven't arrived yet. They haven't even sent their men to attack, and you all are already so scared. Then we might as well not fight and just surrender. Zhuge Yuanhong scanned the crowd with his cold eyes and said, Elders, protectors, commandant, commanders, what do you think? If we surrender, will Qing Hu Island let us live? Silence. The group of people knew clearly that Qing Hu Island wanted to unify the whole of Yangzhou. If they really attacked, they would definitely not let the experts of the Gui Yuan sect live. Maybe the low-level people could be spared, but Qing Hu Island would definitely kill all the elites and higher-ups of the Gui Yuan sect to prevent future troubles. Let them come. Who's afraid of who? A muscular man with a face full of long hair roared angrily. The Gui Yuan sect has 80,000 city guards in Jiangning County City, 6,000 black armors, over 10,000 core disciples and several tens of thousands of outer disciples. So many people are guarding the inner city of the Gui Yuan sect. I don't believe that Qing Hu Island can attack so easily. The second commander of the Black Armored Corps, Pang Shan, said with a rough and metallic voice, My father, uncles, grandfather, and all the elders are in the Gui Yuan sect. Just one sentence. When the sect is destroyed, all the disciples of the Pang family will die first. Pang Shan's eyes turned slightly red, as if he wanted to eat someone. Second brother Pang is a man. A silver-haired elder laughed and said, The disciples of the Feng family will live and die with the sect. Killing one is enough, killing two is a profit. Many hot-blooded men in the hall gnashed their teeth and shouted. In the land of the 9 prefectures, life and death were everywhere. Those who could become the upper echelons were almost all hot-blooded and courageous people. At first, they were afraid when they thought of the terrifying scene of their sect being destroyed. But after the fear passed, they went crazy. Even if he died, Qing Hu Island wouldn't have a good time. The Gui Yuan sect had been established in Jiangning County for more than 1,000 years. Many families had served the Gui Yuan sect for generations, such as the Feng family, the Pang family, the Zhuge family, and so on. The children of these families had been indoctrinated since they were young to fight for the sect. Generation after generation, the conviction to live and die with the sect had long been rooted in their souls. If they betrayed the sect, they would be ridiculed and looked down upon by the world. As for those who fought for the sect, even if they died, others would still give them a thumbs up. The sect nurtured you, gave you inner strength manuals, gave you status, and when the time comes, you have to fight for the sect. All right. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at the crowd and laughed. None of the disciples of the Guiyuan sect are afraid of death. What's there to be afraid of? It's not a big scar. The bearded man also shouted. Junior Marshal Brother said it well. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, Ever since the martial ancestor created the Gui Yuan sect, it has been more than 1,000 years. No one can destroy the Gui Yuan sect, not even Qing Hu Island. I can tell you now, as long as you listen to my orders, I dare say that Qing Hu Island can't destroy the Gui Yuan sect. Everyone looked at the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, in surprise. Teacher, how can you be so sure? Ting Qingshan was also very surprised. The wisdom of Gui Yuan Zhuge was well known. If an ordinary person said this, the people present would only think that the person was bragging. However, since it was the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, who said this, although it was a little unbelievable, everyone believed that the sovereign might really be able to protect the Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong was the stabilizing force of the Gui Yuan sect. Under the gazes of the crowd, Zhuge Yuanhong smiled. His smile showed that everything was under his control. In a bloody battle, we must be prepared to die. Zhuge Yuanhong glanced at the crowd. Ting Qingshan's blood was boiling. Slaughter? He had never been afraid of slaughter. In his previous life, he had been slaughtering since he was 7 years old. When it came to protecting one's life while killing the enemy, probably no one could do it better than Ting Qingshan. Of course, Qinghu Island is only ruling Shuyang County and Tianan County publicly. They didn't say that they want to destroy the Gui Yuan sect and Tai Yi Hall. Zhuge Yuanhong said with a smile, so, everyone can relax a little. I will hold a banquet in the Great Hall this afternoon. Everyone will stay in the Great Hall today. Zhuge Yuanhong said, in my opinion, if Qinghu Island wants to attack the Gui Yuan sect, they will do it today. If they don't send people today, they will probably have to wait for a long time. The crowd nodded, not relaxing because of Zhuge Yuanhong's words. Everyone understood that it was very likely that Qinghu Island would attack. The upper echelons of the Gui Yuan sect gathered in the Great Hall, ready to receive the sovereign's orders at any time. Everyone chatted and waited anxiously. At noon, the group of people ate lunch in the Great Hall. In the afternoon, the snow stopped. The world was white, and the light illuminated the Great Hall. However, while the upper echelons of the Gui Yuan sect were chatting, they were also paying attention to the outside, waiting for the news. Many protectors and commandant took deep breaths, closed their eyes, and rested. Some even knocked their heads lightly. Obviously, waiting anxiously had created an invisible pressure in their hearts, and it was too much for them to bear. Dong, dong, dong. Rapid footsteps came from outside the Great Hall. Almost instantly, the elders, protectors, and commandant in the Great Hall turned their heads and looked outside. They saw the middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak running into the Great Hall of the Gui Yuan sect with a gloomy face. Phew! Many people in the Great Hall couldn't help but stand up. Sovereign! The middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak immediately rolled up the secret letter and handed it to the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong. Zhuge Yuanhong frowned and read the secret letter carefully. Everyone in the Great Hall held their breath and looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. Nobody knew what was written in the secret letter. The hall was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Crackle! The sound of the lamp burning caused the hearts of many people in the hall to tremble involuntarily. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at the secret letter for a long time. Why did you look at it for so long? Ting Qingshan felt suffocated because of the atmosphere, and he couldn't breathe. He stared at his teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong. Finally, Zhuge Yuanhong moved his eyes away from the secret letter, and raised his head to look at the crowd. Then, he stood up. Zhuge Yuanhong's hair was disheveled, and he was wearing a loose white robe. However, at this moment, he stood in front of the sovereign, and his aura was as sharp as an unsheathed sword. He glanced at the crowd and said calmly, "Prepare for war." Silence. The Great Hall was completely silent. Prepare for war. Sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong's seemingly calm words made everyone feel as if they were seeing a bloody scene of thousands of soldiers and horses fighting each other. This wasn't an ordinary battle, but a battle of life and death for the Gui Yuan sect. Phew! The two law-enforcing elders stood up. Phew! Ting Qingshan stood up. Pang Shan, Zhang Feng, Guan Lu, and the other elders also stood up. The other commandant and protectors also stood up. Everyone looked calm. They had waited for more than 6 hours since this morning. After more than 6 hours of suffering, everyone still had a glimmer of hope that Qinghu Island wouldn't fight. Everyone waited anxiously, suffering like never before. In the end, when the words "prepare for war" came out of sect master Zhuge Yuanhong's mouth, everyone became calm instead. The result was out, fight. They had no choice. According to the news, the 20,000 silver dragon soldiers of Qinghu Island stationed at the border of Shuyang County have already set off towards Chu County. The number of innate experts among them is unknown. Zhuge Yuanhong said indifferently, It's obvious that Qing Hu Island's plan is to destroy Tai Hall first before destroying our Guyuan sect. Everyone was secretly shocked. 20,000 Silver Dragon soldiers? The Silver Dragon soldiers were comparable to the Black Armored Corps. The Black Armored Corps only had 6,000 soldiers, but they actually sent out 20,000 to destroy Tai Hall? Moreover, the number of innate experts was unknown. And this was only the first wave of innate experts. No one knew if there would be a second wave of innate experts. I predict that the troops of Qing Hu Island to deal with the Guiyuan sect have already set off, but the news hasn't reached me yet. Zhuge Yuanhong's voice was still calm. Ting Qingshan, Pang Shan, Elder Yen, listen up. Zhuge Yuanhong swept his gaze across. Phew. Ting Qingshan, Pang Shan, and the white-haired elder of the two protectors all stood up. The three of you lead the first and second troops of the Black Armored Corps, a total of 3,000 soldiers, and rush to the southernmost Yanjiang city of Jiangning County as fast as possible. Lead the city guard of Yanjiang City and defend Yanjiang City. Zhuge Yuanhong ordered. Understood. The three cupped their hands and answered in unison. After that, the entire Black Armored Army camp was in an uproar. The sergeants of the Black Armored Army of the 1st and 2nd Divisions could only say a few words to their relatives who lived with them. After that, they immediately put on their heavy armors, mounted their war horses, and held their weapons in their hands. One by one, they began to rapidly gather on the drill ground. From the time Zhuge Yuanhong gave the order, to the time when Ting Qingshan and Pang Shan passed the order, to the time when the idle soldiers gathered, it took less than an hour. At the drill ground of the Black Armored Corps barrack, a dense mass of 3,000 Black Armored Corps soldiers rode on their horses and lined up in phalanxes. Some had spear phalanxes, some had saber phalanxes, and some had archers' phalanxes. The 3,000 Black Armored Corps soldiers were like a huge beast in hiding, not making a single sound. Ting Qingshan wore a full set of dark steel heavy armor and a helmet. He held the reincarnation spear in his hand and rode on a dark demonic horse. Ting Qingshan glanced into the distance and saw his sister, Qingyu, standing there. Ting Qingshan, Pang Shan, and Elder Yen rode on their horses and looked at the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, who was in front of them. Qingshan, you are the first commander. You are the leader of this mission. Zhuge Yuanhong instructed. You also have to listen to your martial uncle and Elder Yan's opinions. Yes. Ting Qingshan replied. All right, let's depart. Zhuge Yuanhong said solemnly. Ting Qingshan pulled the reins and turned his horse around. He raised his reincarnation spear and shouted, Depart! His voice resounded in the sky above the drill ground. Rumble, the 3,000 Black Armored Corps soldiers began to depart in an orderly manner, forming a long black dragon. The Black Armored Corps soldiers marched continuously towards the north gate with an imposing manner. Every soldier knew that there would be a great battle this time. As a soldier of the Black Armored Corps, the most glorious and dazzling moment was the time of a bloody battle. I wonder how many people will return from this battle. Ting Qingshan also advanced slowly. Big Brother Ting! An anxious voice sounded. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw Zhuge Qing standing in front of Qingyu behind the figures of the Black Armored Corps. She waved her hand and her face was filled with worry as she shouted, I will wait for your return. Ting Qingshan's heart couldn't help but tremble. He waved his left hand and continued to follow the army, leaving in a grandiose manner. Chapter 186. Watching Ting Qingshan disappear into the crowd of Black Armored Corps, Zhuge Qing's eyes turned red and sparkling tears glistened in her eyes. The order for the army to depart was so fast that many people didn't know about it. Zhuge Qing walked out of her room and heard the news by chance. She was shocked and rushed to the drill ground. When she arrived, Ting Qingshan had already departed. Was he going to fight a bloody battle with Qing Hu Island? Zhuge Qing was afraid. She was afraid that she would never see Ting Qingshan again. Seeing the mighty black armored corps leave, Zhuge Qing couldn't care about anything else and shouted, "Big brother Ting, I will wait for your return." For a young lady to shout, "I'll wait for you to come back," in front of a large crowd, this required astonishing courage. Qing Qing. Zhuge Yuanhong walked over and looked at his daughter. He couldn't help but sigh. "Father!" Zhuge Qing threw herself into her father's arms. She couldn't hold back her tears anymore. This was the first time Zhuge Qing fell in love with someone. When she saw Ting Qingshan leave with the army, Zhuge Qing was really scared. She was scared to see Ting Qingshan again, only to see Ting Qingshan's corpse. "Don't cry. Your martial brother Qingshan will come back." Zhuge Yuanhong comforted. Zhuge Qing looked up at her father. "I sent Elder Yen. He is a Golden Dan innate expert. Qingshan has also reached the innate realm. He should be able to protect himself." Zhuge Yuanhong said. "Qing Hu Island doesn't have any Golden Dan innate experts?" Zhuge Qing asked worriedly. "Yes. However, Qing Hu Island is dealing with two sects at the same time. They also left many experts to guard their lair. There won't be too many experts attacking Yanjiang City first." Zhuge Yuanhong said, "It's impossible for the sect to guarantee that Ting Qingshan won't be injured at all. Which one of the true experts hasn't experienced all kinds of difficulties and gone through life and death trials to reach the peak?" It didn't matter if it was Zhuge Yuanhong when he was young or many experts now. Life and death situations were something that almost every expert had to experience. Otherwise, no matter how good one's talent was, it was still just talent. Without experiencing true life and death battles, one would not be able to grow and transform. "Brother, cousin, you have to come back." Qingyu also bit her lip as she watched the black armored corps troops leave towards the north. She was usually carefree, but in fact, she grew up under Ting Qingshan's care. In her heart, the most important things were her parents and her brother, Ting Qingshan. On the official road outside Jiangning County City, 3,000 members of the Black Armored Corps were rapidly advancing towards the south. Ting Qingshan, Pang Shan, and Elder Yen were all riding dark demonic horses at the very front of the army. The dark demonic horse, as one of the 3 dragon horses, was something that only the 4 great commanders, the enforcement elders, and the sect leader could equip. The 3 dark demonic horses galloped at the very front of the army. Ting Qingshan and the other 2 didn't feel the slightest jolt. "Qingshan, Qingqing treats you really well. It's very rare to make a well-educated and reasonable girl shout, 'I'll wait for you to come back' in public." Pang Shan, who was at the side, smiled and said, "Don't let Qingqing down." Ting Qingshan smiled and didn't say anything. When Lady Qing shouted just now, Ting Qingshan was indeed shocked. The pair of eyes that were flickering with tears revealed the worry and fear, which made Ting Qingshan's frozen heart crack. "Martial Uncle, Elder Yen, are you too familiar with the Silver Dragon army of Qing Hu Island?" Ting Qingshan asked. The silver-haired Elder Yen said in a hoarse voice, "The Black Armored Corps can still fight against the Silver Dragon army, but the strongest army of Qing Hu Island isn't the Silver Dragon army. It's the Golden Scale Guards. It's the most elite army made up of first-rated warriors." "Golden Scale Guards?" Ting Qingshan was secretly shocked. Made up of first-rated warriors? Among the 6,000 Black Armored Corps, there were probably only a little more than 100 experts who had reached the first-rated warrior realm. Pang Shan, who was at the side, also said solemnly, "Qing Hu Island controls 9 counties, so of course it has a lot of experts. The Golden Scale Guards of Qing Hu Island have a total of 2,000 people. They are the most terrifying army of Qing Hu Island. If these 2,000 Golden Scale Guards really attack, they can completely kill the 6,000 Black Armored Corps of the Gui Yuan sect." 2,000? Ting Qingshan gasped. No wonder the other higher-ups of the Gui Yuan sect were so nervous in the Great Hall. The difference was indeed too big. There must be a lot of Golden Scale Guards who have to stay in their lair. Only a part of them will come out to fight, Elder Yen said. Ting Qingshan's face was solemn. Martial uncle, Elder Yen, Ting Qingshan said. The two looked at him. I'm most worried about one thing, Ting Qingshan said in a deep voice. The army that Qinghu Island sends out may let the Golden Scale Guards be the vanguard and attack Yanjiang City first. With the speed of the Golden Scale Guards, I'm afraid they will be much faster than our Black Armored Corps. If that's the case, can the city guard stop the Golden Scale Guards? Pang Shan and Elder Yen were also worried. The city guard of Yanjiang City had the largest number of guards among the 9 cities of Jiangning County, but it only had 10,000 guards. With 10,000 guards, it would be considered good if they could lift 500 jin. As long as there are a few hundred Golden Scale Guards, I'm afraid they can quickly open a gap, kill the guards, and break into Yanjiang City. Pang Shan said. Elder Yen, why don't you and I go to Yanjiang City first? Ting Qingshan said. Just you and me? Hearing this, Elder Yen thought for a while and nodded. Okay, with you and me we can assist the 10,000 guards. As long as there aren't too many Golden Scale Guards, there's nothing to worry about. Elder Yen was a Golden Dan innate expert. Once he and Ting Qingshan went, they would be like 2 pillars. They were equivalent to 2 pillars. If they really killed slowly, Elder Yen alone could kill hundreds of Golden Scale Guards. Martial uncle, you lead the Black Armored Corps and go quickly, Ting Qingshan said. Okay, you guys be careful. Pang Shan nodded. Jia! Jia! Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen squeezed their horses' bellies lightly, and the 2 dark demonic horses immediately sped up. Phew! Phew! 2 black shadows flashed, and in a breath's time, they disappeared 1,000 feet away, leaving only shallow hoof prints on the endless snow. The dark demonic horse was one of the 3 dragon horses in the world. It could travel 5,000 li in a day, so its speed was obvious. Clop! 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 The sound of horse hooves sounded hurriedly. Horses over 8 chi tall galloped on the official road, splashing a lot of snow. The armors of the warriors on these horses were covered with scales. The whole body was pitch black, with only golden stripes on the edges of the shoulder and arm armors. This kind of armor made of scales was more complicated than the heavy armor of the Guiyuan sect. The cost and craftsmanship were also more shocking. Of course, the joints could be better protected. We are only 30 li away from Yanjiang City. Riding on a war horse, the person at the front was an elder with white hair on his temples. He was wearing a dark golden armor. His sharp eyes were looking towards the north as he said, Elder Hu, I think the Guiyuan sect doesn't know that Qinghu Island is coming. Behind him was a middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak. The middle-aged man said indifferently, We better take down Yanjiang City as fast as possible. The army behind us will catch up soon. If we take down Yanjiang City, our army will be able to catch up with them endlessly. Annihilating the Guiyuan sect will be in the bag. Elder Hu, I don't understand. Why is the island lord so careful with the Guiyuan sect? They attacked Yanjiang City sneakily and took down Tai E Hall step by step. When the experts gather, the army will surround them and annihilate the Guiyuan sect. In my opinion, we should attack them in one go like we did with Tai E Hall. Wouldn't that be enough? The old man with white hair on his temples said. Elder Tai, don't look down on Zhuge Yuanhong. If you look down on Zhuge Yuanhong, the consequences will be terrible. The middle-aged man said, When there is only 5 li left, get off the horse and use Qing Gong to get close. The sound of the horse hooves could easily be discovered. In winter, the sky darkened very early. On top of Yanjiang City, a large number of soldiers stood and patrolled. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly heavy. Actually, this morning, the Lord of Yanjiang City and the city guard captain received a message to close the city gate and be on guard. The men of Qinghu Island might attack. Not long ago, another order came from the Guiyuan sect. The men of Qinghu Island might attack at any time. Keep your eyes wide open. Hold on for a little longer. When the night comes, the black armored corps will arrive. Then, everyone can relax. A lean man wearing black armor walked on top of the city wall. Behind him were a few elite soldiers. The sky was dark. Fortunately, there was snow, so the soldiers could see clearly. "There's an enemy!" A shrill cry suddenly rang out. All the soldiers on top of the city wall were frightened. They opened their eyes wide and looked at the distance below the city wall. Where? The city guard captain also looked over from the top of the city wall. With one look, his facial expression changed and he roared, "Archers, get ready!" In the distance below the city wall, hazy shadows were approaching rapidly. These people's armors were covered with a layer of white cloth. From their helmets to their feet, they were all covered with white cloth. On the snowy ground, these white soldiers were not eye-catching at all. When the soldiers of Yanjiang City discovered them, they were already 50 zhang away from the city wall. "Kill!" the white soldiers below shouted. Immediately, the speed of all the white soldiers increased. They didn't care about hiding their bodies anymore. Phew! 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 Each of them was like a nimble leopard. With one step, they covered 20 to 30 zhang. They dashed towards Yanjiang City like lightning. Experts. They are all experts. The city guard Captain Wu Hao was shocked when he saw the speed of the white soldiers. He immediately widened his eyes and roared, "Shoot! Shoot!" On top of the city wall, the densely packed soldiers raised their bows and shot fiercely towards the snow-white warriors below. Phew! 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 The arrows covered the sky and covered the earth like locusts. Poochie! Hiss! All kinds of sounds could be heard. The white cloth on the white soldiers was torn off. However, they were all wearing black armors. The arrows of the soldiers couldn't hurt them at all. The city guard Captain Wu Hao saw the enemy's exposed armor and his expression changed. Golden scale guards. However, the ordinary soldiers didn't recognize this armor. "Boil water, heat oil, quick!" Wu Hao roared. The golden scale guards rushed to the foot of the mountain. However, the first-rated warriors couldn't jump over the city wall that was 10 zhang high. Many golden scale guards stomped on the ground and jumped 4 to 5 zhang high. Then, they stabbed their daggers into the city wall and hung on the city wall. In an instant, dozens of golden scale guards hung on the city wall. Then, they borrowed strength to jump up again. "Fall!" Captain Wu Hao roared ferociously. Phew! Boiling water and boiling oil poured down from above. The water and oil were all-pervasive. No matter how good the defense of the armor was, it couldn't defend against the boiling water and boiling oil. Ah! Ah! Many golden scale guards jumped and dodged, but many of them were still scalded. Of course, they were only lightly injured. "Fire!" The captain roared again. Many torches were thrown down from the top of the city wall. The ground below was already covered with boiling oil. When the torches were thrown down, the city wall was instantly set ablaze. There were also flames on the walls. Obviously, they wanted to use the flames to stop the golden scale guards. Unfortunately, the number 1 elite soldier of Qinghu Island, the golden scale guards, couldn't be stopped so easily. Chapter 187. Under the city wall of Yanjiang City, the flames rose to the sky and melted the surrounding snow. On the snowy ground far away, the middle-aged man in a gray robe, Elder Hu, and the white-haired Elder Tai stood side by side and watched the battle confidently. "Brothers, go!" A golden scale guard who was completely covered in heavy armor shouted. This golden scale guard who was originally at the back suddenly increased his speed. With a single step, he covered 3 to 4 zhang. With a gust of wind, he dashed towards the city wall. The arrows on the city wall hit his body with a bang sound, but they could only leave a few white marks on the heavy armor. Hundreds of golden scale guards spread out and dashed forward. Pung! The leading golden scale guard stomped on the ground and leaped up again. He directly crossed the area of 6 to 7 zhang of flames and stepped on the daggers that were inserted into the city wall by his comrades. It turned out that the purpose of the first wave of golden scale guards was to leave some daggers for everyone to have a foothold. Who? Dozens of golden scale guards stepped on the daggers at the same time and dashed upwards. Fall! A hoarse roar came from the city wall. Hua hua! Big iron pots that were burning hot were suddenly flipped over. The boiling water and boiling oil were poured down mercilessly. Under the boiling oil and boiling water, the first wave of golden scale guards lowered their heads and let the boiling oil pour down. They still desperately grabbed onto the top of the city wall. Deep roars came from these golden scale guards. Kill! Sabers slashed at the fingers of the golden scale guards or at their faces. Usually, a few soldiers attacked these golden scale guards at the same time. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew from the steel gloves, helmets, and mask. Many golden scale guards were struck and fell down, but more golden scale guards rushed up to the top of the wall. The leader of the golden scale guards smiled ferociously and roared, "Brothers, let's kill!" His roar echoed in the sky above Yanjiang City. Kill! Kill! Every golden scale guard let out a bloodthirsty roar. Pung! With a slap, a soldier's head exploded and his brains splattered. He then pulled out the saber from his waist and slashed wildly. The golden scale guards were like wolves entering a flock of sheep. Son of AB** TCA. A middle-aged city guard held a pot of hot oil and splashed it at a golden scale guard who was charging at him. Hua! Caught off guard, the hot oil went through the mask and splashed all over the golden scale guard's face. Ah! The golden scale guard screamed in pain. He grabbed his head and rolled on the ground. His face was completely scalded, and even his eyeballs were scalded. It was so painful that the golden scale guard tore off his helmet. Obviously, the helmet was filled with hot oil. But, Poochie! The middle-aged soldier guard waved the saber in his hand and chopped off the golden scale guard's head. Uncle Lu, well done, a young soldier beside him shouted excitedly. Be careful. The middle-aged soldier's expression changed. Who? The shadow of the saber flashed, and the young man's eyes widened. Blood continuously flowed out of his chest, and then he collapsed. A golden shadow rushed towards the middle-aged soldier. You killed my brother, die. This golden shadow was extremely furious. Son of a bitch. The middle-aged soldier roared and charged forward. Get out of here. Yanjiang City Guard Captain Wu Hao kicked a golden scale guard from the side with lightning speed, and the golden scale guard was sent flying towards the bottom of the city wall. Wu Hao was naturally a first-rated warrior since he could become a captain. This is bad. Wu Hao looked at the top of the city wall. In a short moment, hundreds of golden scale guards had rushed up. The city guards relied on their large numbers to temporarily hold the situation. At least 100 people have died in this short period of time. If this goes on, another few hundred people will die, and they will probably flee. The Black Armored Corps can't make it in time. Wu Hao's expression changed. 3 golden scale guards were like 3 steel demonic beasts, and they actually surrounded him. Wu Hao had nowhere to escape. Clang! Poochie! An arm was sent flying. Poochie! 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 A series of air-piercing sounds resounded. I didn't die? Wu Hao's eyes widened. He saw that the heads of the 3 golden scale guards around him were pierced through, and there were bloody holes on their helmets. The 3 golden scale guards suddenly fell down. Not only these 3 golden scale guards, but more than 10 golden scale guards fell down within a breath's time. This caused the golden scale guards on top of the city wall to be shocked. Phew! Phew! Ting Qingshan, who was wearing a dark steel heavy armor, and Elder Yen, who was wearing a simple armor, appeared on top of the city wall. Qingshan, not bad. Elder Yen smiled and then moved. Clang! Clang! a dazzling silver sword light flashed continuously, and a figure moved at an astonishing speed. Wherever the figure passed by, the golden scale guards fell down one by one. An innate expert. Terrified shouts resounded. All of you die. Ting Qingshan's cold gaze swept across the top of the city wall. His left hand was carrying a small cloth bag of stones. He placed the cloth bag on the ground, and Ting Qingshan grabbed the stones with both his hands. His hands turned into phantoms, and the stones in Ting Qingshan's hands turned into terrifying killing weapons. Poochie! 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 Compared to the Golden Dan innate expert Elder Yen, Ting Qingshan's stones were even more terrifying. After all, when the Golden Scale Guards saw Elder Yen coming, they immediately dodged and gave way, and Elder Yen still had to rely on his speed to rush over. But Ting Qingshan was different. Once the stones were thrown, it meant that a life was lost. With the strength of Ting Qingshan's fingers, the power of the pebbles he shot out was definitely not weaker than the large-caliber sniper rifle in his previous life. Every pebble could pierce through the hard helmets and the skulls of the Golden Scale Guards. Moreover, with Ting Qingshan's level of concealed weapons, every stone was extremely accurate. His left and right hands were equivalent to 2 Barrett sniper rifles, and the firing speed was 2 shots per second. The bullets were the cheap stones. The sky was dark on top of the city wall of Yanjiang City, and the massacre was in progress. Previously, it was the Golden Scale Guards massacring the ordinary soldiers. But now, it was Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen who were massacring the Golden Scale Guards. Retreat! Retreat! Angry shouts came from the snowy ground under the city wall, and the Golden Scale Guards quickly jumped down from the top of the city wall. Even though these Golden Scale Guards were escaping, the pervasive stones still pierced through the air and pierced through the heads of 4 Golden Scale Guards. Only then did the rest of the Golden Scale Guards reach the bottom of the city wall. But when they reached the bottom of the city wall, the Golden Scale Guards still had their heads pierced through and fell down. Run, run, run quickly! The Golden Scale Guards who ran faster than leopards were about to collapse. But while they were running, their companions still fell down powerlessly around them. The sound of the stones piercing through the air reverberated in their ears. The stones only stopped when they were more than 10 zhang away, but they didn't dare to stop and continued to run until they were more than 100 zhang away. On the snowy ground, the Golden Scale Guards turned their heads to look at their companions. All of their faces were pale, and they sat on the ground powerlessly. Their eyes were filled with fear. "Ha, we won! We won!" The soldiers on top of the city wall of Yanjiang City cheered excitedly. The short siege battle had indeed frightened them, but they won in the end. The soldiers who lost their brothers and friends even kicked the corpses of the Golden Scale Guards to vent their anger. Phew! Ting Qingshan stood on top of the city wall and looked at the Golden Scale Guards on the snowy ground from afar. They escaped really fast. Ting Qingshan also clenched his fist. In such a short period of time, he had shot out so many stones at such a high speed, and each stone had to have such a strong penetrating power. This had a high requirement on Ting Qingshan's 10 fingers. Luckily, Ting Qingshan had trained his 10 fingers hard since he was young. Qingshan. Elder Yen, who had traces of blood on his body, walked over with eyes full of surprise. Elder Yen. Ting Qingshan smiled and turned around. I have never heard of your concealed weapon technique. Elder Yen looked at the cloth bag at the side. No one would believe that the stones that could be seen everywhere could take the lives of the precious Golden Scale Guards. In such a short period of time, how many Golden Scale Guards did you kill? There should be about 100. I killed 82 Golden Scale Guards on top of the city wall, and 33 Golden Scale Guards below the city wall. Ting Qingshan said. Even though Elder Yen saw it with his own eyes, he still felt that it was unbelievable. I only killed 21 Golden Scale Guards, but Qingshan, you killed 115 Golden Scale Guards. Elder Yen. The captain of the city guard, Wu Hao, hurried over and greeted respectfully. He then looked at Ting Qingshan and hesitated slightly. Wu Hao knew the other 3 of the 4 commanders, but he didn't know the person in front of him. However, Ting Qingshan's attire was obviously that of a commander, so he quickly guessed Ting Qingshan's identity. "Thank you, Commander Ting, for saving my life," Wu Hao said respectfully, but he was amazed in his heart. Commander Ting's concealed weapon technique is really terrifying. One by one, the golden scale guards fell down. The soldiers on top of the Yanjiang city wall were moving the corpses of their comrades, and the smell of blood filled the entire wall. Below the city, on the snowy ground 100 zhang away from the city wall. "Centurion Liu, you said that you didn't see clearly what concealed weapon it was?" Elder Tai, who had white hair on his temples, said angrily. From a distance of 100 zhang, with the speed and size of the stone, even an innate expert wouldn't be able to see it. The golden scale guard, whose body was covered in blood, still had fear in his eyes. "Elder Tai, I only heard a piercing sound, and then my brothers fell down one by one. They died too quickly, one by one. We escaped to the city wall, and the piercing sound continued to ring. Every time it rang, a brother fell down. The piercing sound kept ringing. It was too fast. We escaped from the city wall, and within the time of 2 to 3 breaths, a large group of brothers fell down." "Elder Tai, teacher." A mournful voice rang. A young man, whose face was full of tears, suddenly knelt in front of the 2 elders and cried, "I beg you, you must kill the murderer and avenge my big brother." "Teacher." These golden scale guards, who escaped from the line of life and death, didn't have the courage to charge forward again. This young man didn't have the confidence to avenge himself, so he could only beg his teacher. "Set up camp here." The middle-aged man in a gray cloak ignored his disciple and ordered coldly. Elder Tai and Elder, who were not far away from the camp. The sneak attack to seize the city failed. The middle-aged man in a gray cloak looked at the camp and said, "These golden scale guards have lost all their morale." The white-haired Elder Tai said angrily, "Elder Hu, 500 golden scale guards. Qinghu Island only has 2,000 golden scale guards. In a short period of time, nearly 150 people died. Qinghu Island has never suffered such a great loss. Who created such a terrifying concealed weapon that can pierce through the golden scale guards' helmets? And in such a short period of time, over 100 were killed. How many concealed weapon experts are there in Yanjiang City? The Gui Yuan sect is really hiding their strength." The middle-aged man in a gray cloak looked at Yanjiang City from afar and said, "After we occupy Yanjiang City, it's best to capture these concealed weapon experts alive." Chapter 188. The Island Lord's plan is indeed reliable. First, we will destroy Tai Hall, then we will gather a large number of people and gradually destroy the Gui Yuan sect. Elder Tai had to admit, previously, I looked down on the Gui Yuan sect. I didn't expect the Gui Yuan sect to have a concealed weapon expert during the first battle, and it's obvious that there's more than one. That Zhuge Yuanhong. I wonder what other tricks he has up his sleeves. The middle-aged man in gray sighed. Zhuge Yuanhong is ranked 6th in the heavenly ranking, while the Island Lord is only ranked 7th. His intelligence is also unfathomable. The Island Lord's method of advancing step by step is to suppress others with force. He wins by being reliable and not giving Zhuge Yuanhong any chance. Compared to Zhuge Yuanhong, Tai Hall's sovereign Yerong is much weaker. Elder Tai laughed. With the speed of the Silver Dragon Army, they should have arrived at Chu County City by now. The middle-aged man in gray also smiled. Yes, with my martial uncle as the leader, 10 innate experts will lead 20,000 Silver Dragon Army and attack. There are even 3 Golden Dan innate experts. Tonight, Tai Hall will definitely be destroyed. When Tai Hall is destroyed, the 10 innate experts will come and meet with us. The island lord will then lead his men from Qinghu Island over. With all the forces gathered, it will be easy to raze Jiangning County City to the ground. Tai Yi Hall, after tonight it will no longer exist. Elder Tai sighed, but his eyes were filled with excitement. It was fine if they didn't act, but once they did, they would use thunderous methods. They had to unite the world before the other sects could react. If this dragged on for a long time, it would be troublesome. The cold wind howled in the night. The flames in Chu County City dyed the sky red. The cries of killing sounded like thousands of thunder echoing in the sky. The lair of Tai Yi Hall was a city within a city. Just like the Guiyuan sect, it was located in the inner city of Chu County City. At this moment, on the walls of the inner city, Tai Yi Hall's 8,000 Tai Yi army soldiers, 60,000 city guards, 10,000 core disciples, and tens of thousands of outer disciples were fighting a bloody battle under the leadership of their sect elders. Release! The armored Tai Yi Hall expert shouted. On the walls of the inner city, the experts of Tai Yi Hall on the watchtower were using the 1,000 godly crossbow. This was a very terrifying type of crossbow. It was a foot-operated crossbow, and with the strength of both feet and hands, it could shoot out 2 arrows at once. The arrows shot out like this could even penetrate heavy armors. However, the creation of the 1,000 godly crossbow was extremely complicated and expensive. Tai Yi Hall had a total of 200 of them. However, the 1,000 godly crossbow that could penetrate top-grade heavy armors also had high requirements for the crossbowman. At the very least, the crossbowman had to have a strength of 4 to 5,000 jin to be able to use it well. The power of the godly crossbow was astonishing, but its accuracy was lacking. Of course, in a battle between the two armies, this flaw was not a big deal. Xiao! 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 In an instant, hundreds of ear-piercing whistles streaked across the sky and entered the Silver Dragon army below. Immediately, many Silver Dragon army soldiers were penetrated and fell to the ground. Those who surrender will not be killed. Those who surrender will not be killed. The voice of the expert of Qinghu Island resounded in the sky above the inner city of Tai Yi Hall. You want us to surrender? Dream on. Killing one is enough. Killing two is a profit. Brothers, kill. Under the leadership of some people, the disciples of Tai Yi Hall started killing crazily like never before. On the 3rd floor of a pagoda in the military camp of Tai Yi Hall, a black-robed man stood in front of the railing and silently watched the fight on the city wall of the inner city. His face was sometimes red and sometimes dark under the illumination of the flames. Pucci! Pucci! 2 arrows from the Silver Dragon army hit the window of this pagoda. Sovereign! A silver-haired elder with messy hair and wearing armor said anxiously. Many innate experts of Qinghu Island came. Zhao Danshan, Yuan Lufeng, and the others have all arrived. Elder Dengung was killed by them, and Elder Wu was also killed by them. Our elite disciples, who were leading, were all slaughtered by them. With the death of our leader, our disciples are just sending themselves to death. Too many disciples of Tai Yi Hall have died. The silver-haired elder's tears flowed down. Out of the 3 innate experts of Tai Yi Hall, 2 had already died, leaving only the sovereign, Nierong. Kill! Martial brother! Sounds of grief and indignation came from afar. Many of the disciples of Tai Yi Hall seemed to have gone crazy. When the innate experts, some elders, protectors, and other powerful experts were easily slaughtered by a group of innate experts. Without a leader, Tai Yi Hall was in complete chaos. Sovereign, run, run. We can't stop them anymore. The silver-haired elder's face was full of tears as he said anxiously. Nierong, surrender? A loud and clear voice echoed in the sky above Tai Yi Hall. Martial brother, I'm leaving first. Haha, the bastards of Qinghu Island are all. The rough voice stopped abruptly. Teacher, this disciple is leaving first. Teacher. A figure dashed up the building. It was a handsome young man. There was a wound on his chest and his right hand was broken. The moment he went up the building, he knelt down and cried, "Teacher, eldest martial brother, second martial brother, fourth martial sister, fifth martial brother. All dead, all dead! We can't stop them anymore, we can't stop them anymore." Nie Rong stood silently in the building, not even turning around. He stood there quietly, but 2 streams of tears flowed down silently. "All of you, retreat!" Nie Rong's hoarse voice sounded. "Teacher!" The one-armed young man knelt on the ground, crying so hard that his body trembled. Nie Rong took out 2 pieces of the black iron treasure map that were slightly damaged. The edges of the 2 pieces of the black iron treasure map were damaged, but the map was not damaged at all. However, the bottom of the second black iron treasure map was damaged. Originally, there was a line of words there. "Those who have the treasure map will definitely die if they barge in. To get the treasure, you must bring one of the 9 cauldrons. Remember this." The edges of the 2 pieces of the treasure map were damaged. If one only looked at the 2 pieces of the treasure map, they would see that the treasure map itself was not damaged. They would never think that there would be such a line of words. "Martial sister, the rebuilding of Tai E Hall depends on you," Nie Rong said silently. He knew that the 3 innate experts of Tai E Hall had to die. If one of them didn't die, Qinghu Island wouldn't give up on tracking them. He raised his head and looked into the distance. A large number of Qinghu Island's men had already broken through the walls of the inner city and entered. Nie Rong looked at the 2 pieces of the treasure map with a ferocious expression. "Qinghu Island, Qinghu Island. You destroyed my Tai E Hall. I won't let you have an easy time. Go and get Emperor Yu's treasure, go and get it." Immediately. Whoosh! Nie Rong transformed into a streak of black light and rapidly flew towards the east. "Haha, Nie Rong, you still want to escape when you see that the situation is not good?" A loud laughter sounded. "You want to keep me here? In your dreams." Nie Rong laughed wildly. On the 3rd night of November, Qinghu Island's 10 innate experts, 800 golden scale guards, and 20,000 silver dragon soldiers attacked Tai E Hall. 6,000 of Tai E Hall's Tai E army died, 7,000 of its core disciples died, and the rest were either heavily injured, surrendered, or were captured. Over 10,000 city guards died, and the rest either dispersed or surrendered. Over 10,000 outer disciples died, and the rest either dispersed or surrendered. Tai E Hall's 2 law-enforcing elders, Deng Gung and Wu Fantong, died. All the elders and commanders died. Sect Master Nie Rong died. From now on, Tai E Hall was destroyed. Qinghu Island's 10 innate experts left Chu County that night and rushed to Jiangning County. They prepared to join the army and deal with Guiyuan sect. In the wee hours of the morning, the sky was just beginning to brighten. On the city wall of Yanjiang City, Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen stood side by side. Their faces were pale. Just now, the news reached Yanjiang City. Tai E Hall was destroyed. Tai E Hall is finished. Elder Yen sighed. Qinghu Island is much stronger than Tai E Hall. They destroyed Tai E Hall in one night. Ting Qingshan also felt heavy-hearted. When he first met Gu Xiu and the others, Ting Qingshan didn't feel much about the younger generation of Qinghu Island. However, once Qinghu Island made a move, they destroyed Tai E Hall easily. Not only are they much stronger than Tai E Hall, but they are also much stronger than our Guiyuan sect. Elder Yen said helplessly. The fox grieves for the rabbit's death. Tai E Hall and Guiyuan sect were the second sect in Yangzhou. Tai E Hall was destroyed in one night. How long could Guiyuan sect last? Teacher said that he has the confidence to protect Guiyuan sect. Is he really confident, or is he pretending to be calm so that everyone won't panic? Ting Qingshan really couldn't think of. What did Guiyuan sect rely on to fight against Qinghu Island? Maybe they didn't rely on anything at all. It was just a way to keep everyone from feeling hopeless. Tai halls today might very well be the Guiyuan sects tomorrow. Now, we can only listen to teacher. Ting Qingshan knew that his ability to control the overall situation was very ordinary. Qingshan, the Silver Dragon army of Qinghu Island, has already set up camp under the city. I'm afraid that there will be a great battle today, Elder Yen said as he looked at the army camp that was spread out under the city. Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on the military camp under the city. Elder Yen, we have 3,000 black armored corps. Moreover, we can rely on the advantage of the city wall to look down. Although they have 10,000 Silver Dragon army and 300 Golden Scale Guards, the Golden Scale Guards are nothing to worry about. Moreover, the number of people that can charge up the city wall is limited. We can definitely win. Elder Yen also revealed a smile. Maybe Guiyuan sect would be destroyed, but at least this time they had to win happily. First, they had to earn enough. Below the city, the army of Qinghu Island had already started to gather. The gray-robed middle-aged man, Elder Hu, the gray-haired Elder Tai, and the robust man who was completely covered in battle armor were gathered together. Now that the Black Armored Corps has arrived at Yanjiang City, this Black Armored Corps is not an ordinary city guard. Our Silver Dragon army still needs to charge up the city wall, and there won't be many people charging up the city wall. Charging up the city wall is basically courting death, the sturdy man said anxiously. In order to destroy Tai Hall, we relied on 10 innate experts to quickly open up a gap. But the three of us only have 3 innate experts. I don't know how many innate experts there are in Yanjiang City. Qinghu Island only had 21 innate experts. They had to send 10 to destroy Tai Hall, and they had to guard their lair. Naturally, the number of innate experts they sent to Guiyuan sect was small. I only saw the old guy Yen Matian, but I didn't see any other innate experts, Elder Tai said. Elder Hu shouted, the island lord said that if the sneak attack failed, we must advance step by step. We must not rush. Look at that concealed weapon expert. If that Zhuge Yuanhong is also hiding in Yanjiang City. If the 3 of us charge up the city wall, can Zhuge Yuanhong and Yen Matian kill the 3 of us? Among the 3 of them, there was only one Golden Dan innate expert. The strong man was a true Dan innate expert, and Elder Tai was the weakest, a hollow Dan innate expert. I have an idea, the strong man suddenly said. P.S. The 2nd chapter is up. Tomato has the 3rd chapter today, which is also the last chapter of the 4th chapter, Vermilion Tiger Roar. However, this chapter will probably be finished at 1 o'clock at night. If you can't wait, you can read it tomorrow morning. Yes, I can also call for some tickets. Chapter 189. What method? Do you dare to fight against Zhuge Yuanhong? The middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak sneered. No, of course not. The muscular man smiled and said, Elder Hu, as the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong should be in Jiangning County City. The possibility of him being in Yanjiang City is very low. My method is to lower the morale of the Black Armored Corps and cause internal strife. The middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak and Elder Tai both looked at him. I think that the news of Tai Hall being destroyed is probably only known by the higher-ups of the Guiyuan sect. They don't dare to tell the disciples. If they make the disciples feel despair and fear, then many of the cowardly disciples might break down and defect. The muscular man said. Indeed, in the sect, if the disciples knew that Tai Hall was destroyed in one night, many people in the Guiyuan sect would be afraid and terrified. After all, even Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen felt powerless. Not to mention the ordinary disciples. What do you mean? The middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak's eyes brightened. Declare war. The muscular man smiled and said, and announced the news of Tai Hall being destroyed. Shake the morale of the army. declare war. Usually, when two armies were in a confrontation, the leaders and experts would play a big role. It would often happen that the experts of the two armies would declare war. Defeating or even killing the enemy's leader would greatly reduce the enemy's morale. Announce the news of Tai Hall being destroyed. Not bad. You mean declare war? The middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak frowned. I mean, the muscular man immediately said. In the morning, the sun rose. On top of the city wall of Yanjiang City, 3,000 black armored corps were leaning against the wall and eating breakfast. There were bloodstains from yesterday's battle on the city wall. Under the city wall, the army of Qinghu Island had already started to gather. They want to attack the city? Ting Qingshan stood on the city wall and looked at the camp of Qinghu Island from afar. Isn't it better to attack the city? We can kill more. Elder Yen said with a faint smile. Boom, the city wall under his feet shook. Ting Qingshan focused his gaze and looked down at the city. In the distance, the army of Qinghu Island had already finished assembling. At this moment, they were actually nearing Yanjiang City in an orderly fashion. Over 10,000 silver dragon soldiers pressed forward like a black flood. The heavy armor of the silver dragon soldiers was also black, but the edges of the armors and helmets had silver stripe. Be on guard! Ting Qingshan shouted. Hua! The black armored corps sergeants, who were either eating breakfast or sleeping by leaning against the wall, immediately got up. All the black armored corps sergeants held their weapons tightly as they watched the silver dragon army pressing towards them. 3,000 black armored corps against 10,000 silver dragon army. Of course, they had the advantage of the city walls. Stop! With a loud yell, the entire Silver Dragon Legion suddenly stopped. They stopped 800 zhang away from the city wall. An old man in a white robe with gray hair walked to the front of the Silver Dragon army. He raised his head and looked at the city wall of Yanjiang City. What does he want to do? Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen were both puzzled. I am the law-enforcing elder of Qinghu Island, Taiwan Mao. Let me tell you a piece of news. Last night, the army of Qinghu Island swept through Chu County City and annihilated Tai Hall. The sovereign of Tai Hall, Nierong, and 2 law-enforcing elders are all dead. The core disciples and the Tai army are almost all dead. From today onwards, Tai Hall will no longer exist in this world. Elder Tai said loudly. His voice spread and everyone in the 3,000 black armored corps heard it. Impossible! Annihilated in one night? After annihilating Tai Hall, our Gui Yuan sect will be next. Many black armored corps sergeants panicked. These ordinary sergeants didn't know that Tai Hall was annihilated. At this moment they had just found out. The facial expressions of Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen changed drastically. Oh no! The two of them glanced at each other and understood each other's intentions. Even Ting Qingshan and Elder Yen were shocked when they heard the news and felt powerless to turn the situation around. Let alone these ordinary sergeants? The Gui Yuan sect and Tai Hall had existed for over 1,000 years. These sergeants all thought that even if they were annihilated, it wouldn't be so easy. However, they didn't expect that Tai Hall would be annihilated in one night. Then, what about the Gui Yuan sect? Fear and uneasiness permeated the entire black armored corps. Nonsense! Elder Yen roared. Tai Hall was annihilated in one night? How come we didn't know? Qinghu Island's ability to boast is getting better and better. You said that Tai Hall was annihilated, and I said, you attacked Tai Hall and suffered heavy casualties. Don't try to talk nonsense here. When the sergeants of the Black Armored Corps heard this, they felt slightly better. Maybe the other party really made up the news. Boasting? Haha. Yen Matian, a few experts from Qinghu Island can easily defeat your Gui Yuan sect. Annihilating you is a piece of cake. Let me ask you. Elder Hu of Qinghu Island wants to fight you in front of the formation. Do you dare? Tai Wanmao shouted at the front of the formation. At this moment, the middle-aged man dressed in a gray cloak also looked towards Yen Motian. On top of the city wall, Yen Motian frowned. Elder Hu? The possibility of winning was very low. Once he was annihilated, the entire 3,000 black armored corps would be annihilated. Ha ha! Tai Wanmao laughed and said, Qing Hu Island has many experts. There are many people stronger than me on the island. Let's not talk about Elder Hu. I, Tai Wanmao, am here today. Is there anyone from Gui Yuan sect who dares to fight me? His gaze swept across the large group of people on the city wall. Gradually, a smile appeared on his face. The black armored corps on the city wall were in an uproar. Just a clown. With a sneer, a black figure leaped down from the city wall and landed on the ground. On the snowy ground below Yanjiang City, a black figure dressed in dark steel heavy armor and Tai Wanmao dressed in a white cloak stared at each other. Tell me your name, Tai Wanmao shouted. At the same time, he felt strange. According to the plan, if Yen Motian appeared, he would admit defeat and let Elder Hu fight. According to their information, the Gui Yuan sect only had 3 innate experts. None of them were commanders of the Black Armored Corps, and none of them were innate experts. Therefore, if he challenged Yen Motian, he would definitely win. Moreover, he would be able to affect the morale of the other party. Gui Yuan sect Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan, dressed in dark steel heavy armor and holding the reincarnation spear, said coldly, Remember my name. When you meet the King of Hell, you will know who killed you. What an arrogant kid! Tai Wanmao sneered. Knowing that it was Ting Qingshan, he became even more confident. Ting Qingshan, 17 years old. First in the Hidden Dragon ranking. Only the post-liminary realm. You are courting death. Don't you know that wearing heavy armor will affect your speed? Tai Wanmao sneered in his heart. He then pulled out his saber and said loudly, Ting Qingshan, this saber is called the Wind and Thunder Saber. It is the saber that will take your life. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear horizontally and pointed it at Tai Wanmao. Within 3 moves, I will take your life, Ting Qingshan said coldly. As soon as he said this, 3 moves. Pang Shan roared. 3 moves. Immediately, all the black armored corps shouted. When the sergeants of the black armored army heard Tai Wanmao's words, they were terrified and terrified. Tai Wanmao's provocation caused the soldiers of the black armored corps to feel aggrieved. However, none of them dared to go up. When Ting Qingshan stepped up and said, Within 3 moves, I will take your life, everyone was delighted. 3 moves. 3 moves. All of them shouted. The 2 armies faced each other. Ting Qingshan and Tai Wanmao faced each other. Arrogant brat. Tai Wanmao laughed out of extreme anger. I will kill you with 1 move. With an angry roar, Tai Wanmao held the Wind and Thunder Saber and dashed towards Ting Qingshan like lightning. Ting Qingshan, who was wearing dark steel heavy armor and holding the reincarnation spear, stood silently on the spot like a huge mountain. Screech, a strange, ear-piercing sound rang. A streak of green saber light vibrated along a magical path. At the same time, the 7 holes on the Wind and Thunder Saber produced ear-piercing sound waves at high speed. The instant it neared Ting Qingshan, the sound produced by the Wind and Thunder Saber exploded. Rumble, it sounded like thunder. Putting on airs? Tai Wanmao sneered in his heart. You're courting death. The 3,000 black armored corps held their breaths as they looked at Ting Qingshan. They hoped that Ting Qingshan could fight for the Guiyuan sect and for them. Ting Qingshan, who had been standing on the spot, finally moved. Boom! A fiery red wave of air suddenly erupted from the surface of Ting Qingshan's body. It was as if his entire body had become a man of fire. Innate. Tai Wanmao was shocked. Innate? A 17-year-old innate? Elder Hu, who was far away, was also shocked. 1. A deep roar resounded in the sky. The reincarnation spear in Ting Qingshan's hand carried a streak of fiery light. The black armored corps and silver dragon army soldiers, who were watching the fight, only saw a blur. The fiery red light and the green light collided, and the green light was actually pushed back. What a strange force! Tai Wanmao hastily retreated. Pucci! From defense to offense, the transmutation unity energy instantly turned into pursuing shadow and pierced towards Tai Wanmao's throat as fast as lightning. 2. So fast. Tai Wanmao hastily dodged. Ting Qingshan, who was like the god of fire within the flames, had a cold glint flash in his eyes under his mask. This is the moment. A strange force was produced within the reincarnation spear. Buzz. The spear shaft trembled. Insolence. Wanton. Chi-Chi, the spiral-shaped fiery red innate true origin revolved along the spear tip like a sharp awl. Immediately after, it rapidly compressed and condensed into a dazzling deep red dot at the spear tip. The reincarnation spear instantly shot out like a fiery dragon. Its speed was so fast that Tai Wanmao didn't even have time to dodge. Pooh! The spear tip pierced Tai Wanmao's chest and instantly penetrated his inner armor. Tai Wanmao widened his eyes. Boom! With a deafening sound, the spiraling fiery red innate true origin shot forward with a spiraling force. The silver dragon soldiers in the distance were so frightened that they hastily dodged. When the innate true origin dissipated, the silver dragon soldiers finally stood still and looked at Ting Qingshan, who was covered in heavy armor. Ting Qingshan raised his reincarnation spear and shouted, 3! 3 moves! 3 moves! All the sergeants of the black armored army were excited, cheering incessantly. Ting Qingshan's gaze swept across the silver dragon soldiers and then looked at the ground. On the ground, Tai Wanmao had long since been incinerated by the extremely high temperature of the innate true origin. Only a few scattered bones, inner armor, and the Tempest saber were left. Phew! Ting Qingshan turned his head and suddenly leaped over a height of 10 zhang, reaching the top of the city wall. He turned around and looked at the silver dragon soldiers below the city wall. The soldiers of the black armored army cheered endlessly, while the soldiers of the silver dragon army were obviously stunned. The power of the vermilion tiger roar is just as I expected. 30% of its power can easily kill an emptiness Dan innate expert. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. Actually, when Ting Qingshan was pondering over the vermilion tiger roar that day, he had a flash of inspiration. After accompanying Zhuge Qing to the canal, he came back and tried the new method. As expected, he succeeded the first time he tried. On the city wall, Elder Yen, the morale of the black armored corps has been greatly boosted. If the silver dragon soldiers dare to attack the city, they will be courting death. Ting Qingshan turned his head and looked at Elder Yen. Qingshan, take a look. This is the information that was sent when you went down to compete. Elder Yen handed over a secret letter. Secret letter? Ting Qingshan took the letter solemnly and lowered his head to read. The island lord of Qinghu Island, Gu Yong, is leading an army to attack. Abandon Yanjiang City, and return to Jiangning immediately. P.S. I didn't expect that writing the 3rd chapter would be so tiring. Hoo, yes, the 4th chapter, Vermilion Tiger Roar, is finished. The 5th chapter is about to begin. It can be said that the 5th and 6th chapters will be the climax of the story of the 9 cauldrons. The climax is coming. Are you ready? Haha. Yes, I finished 3 chapters today. I will rest tomorrow and start the 5th chapter the day after tomorrow. Hee, I will call for monthly votes and recommendation votes after this chapter ends. Chapter 190. After the heavy snow, it became even colder. The cold wind howled and the cold air enveloped Yanjiang City. However, Ting Qingshan and Yen Matian, who were on the city wall, felt even colder. Ting Qingshan's cold gaze pierced through the helmet and glanced at the silver dragon army below. he said in a deep voice. Elder Yen, according to the time, it will take about 6 hours for this information to reach the sect. Then, it will reach us from the sect. It will probably take another 2 to 4 hours. In other words, Qinghu Island's army should have marched for 8 to 10 hours. Yen Matian said solemnly, if Qinghu Island marches at all costs, they will reach Yanjiang City during the day. They knew too little information and could only estimate the time. Ting Qingshan sneered. Gu Yong, the island lord of Qinghu Island, is leading the army himself. They attacked Tai Yi Hall first, then Gui Yuan Sect. Now that all the forces have gathered, they will definitely send more men than they sent to attack Tai Yi Hall. They really think highly of Gui Yuan Sect. It was not a good thing to think highly of them. The people of Gui Yuan Sect would rather Qinghu Island look down on them and send fewer men. Once Gu Yong leads the army here, we won't be able to escape even if we want to. It's time to retreat. Yen Matian said in a low voice helplessly, I originally wanted to take this opportunity to kill more men of Qinghu Island. However, Qingshan, you killed Tai Wanmao. This time it was worth it. Ting Qingshan turned his head and smiled. Tai Wanmao? He is too arrogant. He can only bully post-liminary expert. Commander Pang. Ting Qingshan shouted. Pang Shan, who was far away, immediately walked over. Even if I don't want to, I still have to leave. Ting Qingshan sighed and immediately discussed the retreat with Pang Shan and Yen Matian. Under Yanjiang City, the scorched remains of the corpses were scattered on the ground. Some of the Silver Dragon army soldiers were under orders to collect the remains of the law enforcing Elder Tai Wanmao's corpse. The other gathered Silver Dragon army soldiers were discussing in low voices. Occasionally, they would look at the black-armored figure holding the silver reincarnation spear on the city wall. Elder General, one of the 2 Silver Dragon soldiers held the bag containing the remains of the corpses, while the other held the Wind and Thunder Saber, inner armor, and vambraces. Put it down, the gray-robed middle-aged man ordered indifferently. Yes. The 2 Silver Dragon soldiers placed the bag, the Wind and Thunder Saber, and the inner armor on the ground. Elder Hu, the burly man wearing heavy armor beside the middle-aged man in gray robes, said angrily in a low voice, Martial Ancestor Zhao and the others led the army to annihilate Tai Yi Hall. None of the 10 innate rankers died, but on our side, Elder Tai died at Yanjiang City. Are we just going to swallow this humiliation like this? The gray-robed middle-aged man glanced at him. General Lan, what do you want? Calling for a battle? If the other party doesn't even want to fight, what can you do? Attack by force? However, this is the first innate expert of Qinghu Island to die in many years. Moreover, he was killed in front of the formation. This is a great humiliation. General Lan's eyes widened as he said angrily, Let's attack by force. I don't believe that we can't conquer the city. A hint of mockery flashed across the gray-robed middle-aged man's eyes as he said indifferently, If we attack by force, the city gate will be heavily guarded. We can't break it. As for climbing up the city wall, the enemy has the advantage of the city wall. Qinghu Island has over 10,000 Silver Dragon soldiers. However, only a small portion of them can climb up the city wall and fight. They will only be slowly devoured by the black-armored corps. Moreover, don't forget, the enemy still has concealed weapons experts. Concealed weapons experts? General Lan was stunned. Out of the 500 golden scale guards, almost 150 died in a short while. General Lan could clearly remember the scene of the golden scale guards falling one by one. Tai Wanmao dying is a small matter. The gray-robed middle-aged man said indifferently. Tai Wanmao was already over 100 years old, but he was still in the emptiness Dan innate realm. According to his age, it would be hard for him to reach the true Dan innate realm in his lifetime. Qinghu Island didn't pay much attention to such a person. What Qinghu Island really paid attention to were Elder Hu, Zhao Danshan, and the other Golden Dan innate experts. Ting Qingshan's strength is the most important thing. The gray-robed middle-aged man lowered his head and looked at the remains on the ground. Ting Qingshan. The sturdy man, General Lan, stared at the big hole in the center of the inner armor and couldn't help but say, a 17-year-old innate expert. And that last spear strike was really powerful. Even Elder Tai's body was burnt instantly. Even an emptiness Dan innate expert might not be able to withstand it. In the entire land of the 9 prefectures, this Ting Qingshan is only second to the demonic monk of the Mani Temple. Elder who raised his head and looked at the ghost-like figure in black heavy armor on the city wall of Yanjiang City. No, he's even scarier than the demonic monk. Elder who said in a deep voice. General Lan said in surprise, 600 years ago, the demonic monk Xiang Fanchen reached the innate realm at the age of 16. Elder who stared at Ting Qingshan in the distance and said slowly, the demonic monk was taught by the Mani Temple since he was young. He cultivated the Golden Buddha, one of the 4 great divine codices. However, Ting Qingshan lived in the mountains since he was young. He didn't have a teacher and relied on himself. I've never seen his spear art before. It should be something he created himself. He just reached the innate realm, yet he was able to kill Elder Tai, who had reached the innate realm for dozens of years. Just thinking about the future Ting Qingshan, even I am afraid. General Lan was stunned. If we give the Guiyuan sect another 10 years, I'm afraid that Qinghu Island won't be able to destroy the Guiyuan sect. Elder Hu said slowly, it's good that Elder Tai died. Qinghu Island knows about the terrifying genius Ting Qingshan. No matter what, it's best to capture Ting Qingshan alive to destroy the Guiyuan sect. If we can't capture him, we'll kill him. Hearing Elder Hu's words, General Lan nodded hastily. A terrifying genius comparable to the demonic monk Xiang Fanchen. Moreover, Ting Qingshan was an enemy. If they didn't kill him, they wouldn't be able to eat and sleep in peace. Unfortunately, what they didn't know was that Ting Qingshan was not a young genius with little experience. In terms of hunting, stalking, escaping, and other aspects, it could be said that in the entire land of the 9 prefectures, there were only a few people who could compare to him. With his experience as an assassin in his previous life, and his control of his body, who could chase after him? Time passed. The men of Qinghu Island sat and rested under the city, waiting for the main army to arrive. General, a soldier of the Silver Dragon army immediately rushed into the tent. General Lan and Elder, who were drinking tea and waiting for the Silver Dragon army. What's the matter? General Lan frowned. General, the soldier said hurriedly, the black armored corps of the Guiyuan sect escaped from the city wall. Phew. General Lan and Elder who instantly rushed out of the tent and looked at the distant city wall of Yanjiang City. As expected, there were probably only a few hundred black armored corps soldiers on the city wall. These black armored corps soldiers were escaping from the city wall through various tunnels. In the time of 2 breaths, these black armored corps soldiers had disappeared from the city wall. Golden Scale Guards! Elder who shouted ferociously. What? Over 300 Golden Scale Guards rushed out. Follow me and kill. Elder who took the lead and dashed towards the city wall. His figure was graceful but as fast as an arrow. Behind him, over 300 Golden Scale Guards also dashed towards the city wall. Dong! Dong! The drums of gathering resounded in the sky. The 10,000 Silver Dragon soldiers quickly gathered together. Elder who leaped onto the top of the city wall easily. With Elder who's 6 senses, he couldn't hear any breathing sounds from the top of the city wall. They all escaped? Elder who was shocked. Phew. Behind him, the Golden Scale Guards climbed onto the top of the city wall like nimble leopards. Follow me down. Under Elder Hu's command, the Golden Scale Guards jumped into the city from the top of the city wall. They realized There was actually no guard at the city gate. There were only huge wooden blocks blocking the city gate. The thick black metal bolts locked the city gate tightly. "Open the city gate!" Elder Hu shouted while he looked towards the north. The merchants on the street had their doors closed. There was a vague black figure in the distance. Elder Hu could clearly feel the vibration of the ground caused by the dense sounds of horse hooves. The golden scale guards quickly moved the huge wooden blocks and pulled open the bolts of the city gate. Boom! The city gate opened with a loud bang. Immediately, a large number of silver dragon soldiers riding on war horses rushed into the city. A roar sounded, "Charge! Kill a black armored corps soldier, the reward is 100 taels of silver. Kill a centurion, the reward is 1,000 taels of silver." The silver dragon soldiers howled and chased after them. If the enemy only cared about escaping, it would be easy to chase and kill them. After all, the number of black armored army soldiers was too great. Even if they escaped in an orderly manner, the soldiers at the back of the army were only about 2 li away from the silver dragon soldiers. Because there were too many black armored corps soldiers at the back, the maximum speed of each war horse was different. The soldiers at the front could gallop freely, but the soldiers at the back couldn't. "Ha! Brothers, kill!" The silver dragon soldiers howled as their war horses galloped, causing the entire Yanjiang city to tremble. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. "Quick, quick!" Ting Qingshan roared angrily. He and Yen Matian were at the back of the black armored corps. The silver dragon soldiers were getting closer and closer. 1 li, half a li, 80 zhang, 50 zhang, 30 zhang. Xiao! Xiao! Arrows were shot from behind and landed on the bodies of the black armored army's soldiers at the back. Only clang sounds could be heard. Occasionally, 1 or 2 arrows would be lucky enough to pierce through the gaps in the armors. Phew! Phew! Like a gust of wind, the black armored corps finally rushed out of the north gate of Yanjiang City. At this moment, a few hundred black armored corps soldiers were gathered at both ends of the north gate of Yanjiang City. 20 black armored corps soldiers were holding on to the ropes to trip the horses, while 10 were holding on to one side. When all the black armored corps soldiers ran out, the silver dragon soldiers chased after them. "Rise!" A loud shout sounded. The ropes to trip the horses were pulled out from the ground. The ropes weren't high and were about 1 to 2 chi from the ground. Between each rope there was a distance of 4 zhang. There were a total of 5 thick ropes to trip the horses. At the city gate, other than the 100 soldiers holding on to the ropes to trip the horses, the other black armored corps soldiers were all holding on to their sabers. Rumble! The galloping war horses fell down with a loud bang, smashing into the ground and causing the ground to tremble. The soldiers of the Silver Dragon army also fell down. The speed of the galloping war horses was not slower than the cars in Ting Qingshan's previous life. Although the soldiers of the Silver Dragon army were strong, they were still dizzy from the fall. Phew! Phew! The well-prepared black armored corps soldiers rushed forward. The sabers in their hands were aimed at the gap under the opponent's mask. Because people needed to breathe and their eyes needed to see, there were gaps. The sabers were mercilessly stabbed down. Poochie! Poochie! Blood splattered. Ah! Screams resounded through the sky. Many silver dragon soldiers were killed before they could even wake up from the fall. Ambush! Anxious shouts sounded. Nay, horses neighed and roared continuously. The city gate was in complete chaos. The soldiers who couldn't stop in time jumped off their horses. The entire city gate was instantly blocked by the fallen war horses, the corpses of the Silver Dragon soldiers, and the ropes to trip the horses. "Let's go!" Ting Qingshan shouted. The black armored corps soldiers immediately mounted their horses and quickly ran away, leaving only the snowy ground full of horse footprints. Chapter 191. At the north gate of Yanjiang City, many corpses of the Silver Dragon soldiers lay on the ground. Blood seeped into the snow, making the scene look tragic. What's going on? General Lon shouted angrily as he jumped off his horse and rushed to the gate. General, we were chasing after the Black Armored Corps, but they set up an ambush here. In just a short while we lost 36 brothers. A centurion of the Silver Dragon Army reported. When General Lon heard this, he was so angry that his eyes widened. Trash! We didn't kill a single enemy, but 36 of them. At this moment, the Black Armored Corps planned this. An indifferent voice sounded. General Lon turned his head and saw the middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak, Elder Hu. Elder Hu continued, the tripping ropes on the ground and the dense footprints over there. The soldiers of the Black Armored Army should have retreated step by step. First, a portion of them retreated to guard the north gate. Then, the other Black Armored Corps retreated. When we reached here, there was no need to say more. What should we do now? General Lon looked at him. Wait. Elder Hu wasn't in a hurry. The Island Lord will lead the army here soon. We will gather with the Island Lord, my martial uncle and the other innate experts. Then, we will destroy the Gui Yuan sect. With this, Elder Hu turned and walked back to Yanjiang City. At noon, the Island Lord of Qing Hu Island, Gu Yong, personally led 500 Golden Scale Guards and 20,000 Silver Dragon soldiers to Yanjiang City. Since then, the number of people in Yanjiang City had reached 800 Golden Scale Guards and 30,000 Silver Dragon soldiers. In the afternoon, the mighty army left Yanjiang City and set off for Jiangning County City. The sun set and the sky was hazy. The army of Qing Hu Island formed a majestic long dragon that stretched as far as the eye could see. The vanguard of the Long Dragon had already neared Huyuan City in Jiangning County. Huyuan City was the city closest to Jiangning County City in the south. It was only 300 li away from Jiangning County City. There wasn't a single guard in Huyuan City. It was obvious that Jiangning County had given up on this city. It's late. Let's rest in Huyuan City tonight. A deep voice sounded. Yes, Island Lord. In the city governor's mansion of River Yuan City, Elder Hu and General Lon were following the yellow-robed island master, Gu Yong. Gu Yong had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and long hair that draped over his shoulders. His eyes were usually half-closed and occasionally flashed with a sharp light. He looked like a lion that had restrained its ferocious aura. Elder Hu, Junior Brother Lon, let's sit over there, Gu Yong said. The three of them sat around a stone table under a pavilion. Elder Hu turned his head and looked into the distance. A smile appeared on his face. Island Lord, it seems that my Uncle Master and the others have arrived. Gu Yong also stood up with a smile. The three of them looked to the south. Men and women wearing robes of various colors or armor walked in. There were a total of 10 people, and 2 of them were women. These 10 people each had their own temperament. Some were ethereal, some were full of killing intent, some were friendly and easy to approach, and some were proud and aloof, keeping people at a distance of 1,000 miles. Elders. Gu Yong grinned. Thank you for your hard work in the Chu Commandery. Island Lord. The handsome young man in the lead smiled. Tai E Hall has 2 true Dan innate experts and 1 golden Dan innate expert. With the 10 of us, it would be a piece of cake. Although this handsome young man looked like a teenager, his skin was white and rosy, but his hair was silver. This person was the number 1 law-enforcing elder, Zhao Danshan. Zhao Danshan, a golden Dan innate expert, ranked 10th in the heavenly ranking. In the entire land of the 9 prefectures, Gu Yong, Zhuge Yuanhong, and Zhao Danshan from Yangzhou occupied 3 of the top 10 positions of the heavenly ranking. It was indeed amazing. Of course, the clan of Heavenly Emperor Qinling was one of the 8 supreme sects, the Ying clan of Yongzhou. There was also the Emperor Yu's Hall of Yuzhou left by Emperor Yu, and the Mani Temple left by martial ancestor Shiga. These 3 supreme sects had the deepest resources, because they inherited the lineage of Heavenly Emperor Qinling, Emperor Yu, and martial ancestor Shiga. many people believed that there were extremely powerful experts hidden within these three supreme sections. For example, the Mani Temple occupied 2 prefectures, but no other sect could shake them. After all, from the ancient times until now, Heavenly Emperor Qin Ling, Emperor Yu, martial ancestor Shiga, and poetic sword god Li Taibai were the 4 most powerful people. They had all reached an unimaginable realm. Anyone who could inherit their legacy could not be underestimated. Even though the world that Emperor Yu unified fell apart, the Emperor Yu's hall still stood for thousands of years. One could see how deep their resources were. Island Lord, this is the original treasure map. The silver-haired handsome young man took out 2 slightly damaged black iron pieces from his bosom. Gu Yong took them. After killing the sovereign of Tai Yi Hall, Nierong, and seizing the 2 iron pieces, Zhao Danshan immediately copied the map and sent it to the Island Lord, Gu Yong, as fast as he could. It really is Emperor Yu's treasure map. When Gu Yong saw it, he laughed loudly. Haha! This material is the Yu stone that Emperor Yu refined. It has been passed down for thousands of years, but even the Yu stone is damaged. It can be seen how fierce the fight for Emperor Yu's treasure map was. I didn't expect it to fall into the hands of Qing Hu Island. A purple-cloaked woman at the side smiled and said, Island Lord, that Nierong saw that the situation was bad and wanted to escape. Fortunately, martial ancestor Zhao stopped him. Otherwise, Nierong might have really escaped. The silver-haired handsome young man, Zhao Danshan, smiled indifferently. This Emperor Yu's treasure map has fallen into the hands of Qing Hu Island. We are not in a hurry. After we destroy the Gui Yuan sect, we can find Emperor Yu's treasure with peace of mind. Gu Yong's expression turned solemn as he said, Elders, this time, Elder Hu and the others led an army to launch a sneak attack on Yanjiang City. I didn't expect that Elder Tai Wanmao would be killed in the battle with Ting Qingshan. The 10 innate experts' expressions changed drastically. Island Lord, that Ting Qingshan. They all looked at Gu Yong. Gu Yong nodded and said, Ting Qingshan has already reached the innate realm. As an innate expert at the age of 17, he was able to kill Elder Tai. His potential is too terrifying. Therefore, everyone, this time, to destroy the Gui Yuan sect, killing Zhuge Yuanhong is the first task, and capturing Ting Qingshan is the second task. I believe that capturing Ting Qingshan alive shouldn't be a problem. Leave it to me, Zhao Danshan said. Since Elder Zhao has spoken, I can rest assured. Gu Yong smiled and nodded. However, everyone, you must not let your guard down when dealing with the Gui Yuan sect. When I was young, I fought with Zhuge Yuanhong for a period of time. Zhuge Yuanhong always has many tricks up his sleeve. It will be very difficult to kill him. Everyone nodded. If it was a one-on-one fight, none of the people present had the confidence to win against Zhuge Yuanhong. After all, Zhuge Yuanhong was ranked 6th in the heavenly ranking. Most importantly, Zhuge Yuanhong hadn't fought in the past 6 years. 6 years? With Zhuge Yuanhong's talent and power of understanding, who knew how much Zhuge Yuanhong had improved in the past 6 years, and what kind of powerful moves he had created. It should be known that in the same realm, there was a huge difference between the unique move. For example, although Ting Qingshan was an emptiness Dan innate expert, his toxic dragon drill was much more powerful than the pursuing shadow. On the other hand, the vermilion tiger roar was more powerful than the toxic dragon drill. Of course, each had its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, the pursuing shadow was fast, and its moves were continuous. The toxic dragon drill was the fastest, and its power was astonishing. However, there was a flaw after it was used. The vermilion tiger roar was the most powerful, but its weakness was that it consumed too much innate true origin, and its moves were not fast. The vermilion tiger roar was like the tiger cannon fist. It had a charging process, and its speed was slower. Different unique moves had different powers. Although they were all Golden Dan innate experts, some were ranked first in the heavenly ranking, and some were ranked last in the heavenly ranking. Why? Their realms were almost the same, and the only difference was in their unique move. The 5th of November, a cloudy day. The accumulated snow had not completely melted, and gusts of cold wind blew. On top of the city wall of Jiangning County, there were many armored soldiers. 50,000 city guards, 20,000 outer disciples, 5,000 core disciples, and 3,000 black armored core. Although there are a lot of people, can they stop the army of Qing Hu Island? Ting Qingshan, who was wearing dark steel heavy armor and a dark steel helmet, and holding the reincarnation spear, was patrolling the city wall. He felt slightly worried. Although there were a lot of city guards, 10 soldiers might not even be a match for 1 soldier of the black armored corps. With the advantage of the city wall, they should be able to defend. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, I'm just worried that the other side will send a group of innate experts and kill the innate experts of the Guiyuan sect first. That would be terrible. The city wall that was over 10 zhang tall had no effect on innate experts. Once the sect master, elders, and commanders were all killed, the sect master, elder, and commander were all killed. The result was obvious. Qingshan. A gentle voice sounded. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw Zhuge Yuanhong, who was wearing a long white cloak and had long hair, standing on top of the city wall with a long sword on his back. As the cold wind blew, his long cloak fluttered. Zhuge Yuanhong looked like he was going to ride the wind. At this moment, the core disciples and black armored core soldiers on top of the city wall, no matter how courageous they were slightly worried. Only the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, didn't seem worried at all. Teacher. Ting Qingshan walked over. The men of Qing Hu Island have arrived. Stay close to me later. Don't stray more than 10 zhang. Zhuge Yuanhong said. Although he was confused, Ting Qingshan still responded, Yes, teacher. They're here? Ting Qingshan looked into the distance. With Ting Qingshan's eyesight, he could barely see a shadow in the distance. After an hour, the great army of Qing Hu Island had completely gathered 3 li away from Jiangning County City. The mighty and densely packed silver dragon soldiers were like the boundless and cold seawater on a cloudy day. When they thought of the 3 words, Qing Hu Island, many city guards and outer disciples were so scared that their legs went soft. Zhuge Yuanhong. A deep voice, like the voice of a god, came from the distant sky and resounded throughout Jiangning County City. Gu Yong. Zhuge Yuanhong looked into the distance. The elegant Zhuge Yuanhong and the overbearing Gu Yong stared at each other from afar. On top of the city wall, the 3 law-enforcing elders, including Ting Qingshan, stood behind the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong. Zhang Feng, Guan Lu, and Pang Shan, as well as many elders, were also gathered here. 13 people? With Ting Qingshan's eyesight, he could clearly see the 13 people standing at the front of the great army 3 li away. The 13 people lined up, and the person in the center was wearing a long golden cloak. The 13 people standing there gave Ting Qingshan a much greater pressure than the great army of tens of thousands. The rumbling voice came from afar again. Zhuge Yuanhong, today I will personally lead the great army. However, I don't want to massacre your Guiyuan sect so easily. I will give you 6 hours. Within 6 hours, open the city gate and surrender. I will let your Guiyuan sect live. Otherwise, after 6 hours, I will turn your Guiyuan sect into a piece of scorched earth. The deep voice was like the rumbling of thunder, echoing in the sky. Chapter 192. The voice of the island lord of Qing Hu Island, Gu Yong, was still echoing in the sky. Ting Qingshan stood on the city wall and looked into the distance. He saw a figure the size of an ant leaving Qing Hu Island's camp. This figure quickly dashed to a distance of about 80 zhang from the city wall. He was hugging a tube that was over 1 zhang tall. A water leak? Ting Qingshan frowned. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there were sundials, hourglasses, water leaks, and many other tools to measure time. The working principle of this water leak was that there was a small hole at the bottom of the hourglass. Then, the water in the hourglass would flow at a constant speed. As the water flowed, the scale iron needle floating on the water would slowly descend. When the water flowed down, the top of the scale iron needle would be level with the top of the hourglass. Once filled with water, it could flow slowly for 24 hours. Zhuge Yuanhong. The deep voice sounded again. You saw this water leak. 6 hours. You only have 6 hours. Standing on the city wall, Zhuge Yuanhong, whose white robe was fluttering, spoke for the first time. His clear voice pierced through the air. Gu Yong, the Gue Yuan sect has been in Jiangning County for over 1,000 years. It's not easy for you to turn the Gue Yuan sect into a piece of scorched land. It's better not to start a war to avoid harming the harmony between us. Ha ha! Gu Yong's reply was a string of laughter. The 6th and 7th ranked experts of the heavenly ranking finished a simple conversation with a distance of 3 li, in front of the camp of Qing Hu Island. 13 innate experts gathered together. General Lan, who was wearing armor, laughed and said, "This Zhuge Yuanhong is still not anxious even at this point." He even said, "It's better not to start a war to avoid harming the harmony between us." What a joke! Let's see how anxious he will be after we destroy the Gue Yuan sect. The other innate experts also laughed. Their laughter was filled with confidence. Elders, do not underestimate that Zhuge Yuanhong. Gu Yong smiled. According to the previous plan, first, we'll work together to kill Zhuge Yuanhong. Second, we'll capture that young man named Ting Qingshan alive. Rest assured, Island Lord. Those inborn experts smiled and nodded. Although they were confident, they were not arrogant. Everyone, return to the main tent and rest. In 6 hours, prepare to launch an all-out attack. Gu Yong instructed. Actually, the reason why they had delayed for 6 hours was because the Silver Dragon army had hurried all the way here and were rather tired. If they rested for 6 hours, their physical strength would be at its peak. The second was to let the soldiers and disciples of the Gue Yuan sect live in fear for 6 hours. Gu Yong's words were enough to strike fear into the hearts of many people in the Gue Yuan sect. If they spent 6 hours in fear, their morale would hit rock bottom. Tens of thousands of people were gathered on the city wall. The cold wind blew, blowing Zhuge Yuanhong's long hair. Junior brother Peng, Zhuge Yuanhong instructed, go to the inner city and be in charge of the deployment of the troops in the inner city. Some of the troops of the Gue Yuan sect were on the city wall of Jiangning County City, while the rest were in the inner city. Yes, Sovereign. Peng Shan bowed. Sovereign, what should we do if someone flees in fear? Peng Shan asked again. Zhuge Yuanhong said indifferently, those below the rank of commandant and protector will be thrown into the dungeon. Those who resist will be put to death. Lieutenants, protectors, and those above would have their dantian broken and locked up in the dungeon if they tried to escape in the face of battle. Those who resist will be put to death as well. Yes, Peng Shan replied. In the sect, the higher one's position was, the more severe the punishment would be. Actually, when Ting Qingshan and the others retreated to the Gue Yuan sect yesterday, the Gue Yuan sect quickly assembled its troop. Most of the non-combatants among the outer disciples were dismissed. The core disciples, the family members of the black armored core soldiers, and those who were too weak also left the Gue Yuan sect and went to other places in the county city. The others had to face the war. Commander Ting Qingshan, lunch. A metal lunchbox was handed to Ting Qingshan. It was already past noon. Taking the lunchbox, Ting Qingshan opened the lid and started eating. Very quickly, he finished everything. One battle. That Tai Yi Hall was annihilated in one night. My Gue Yuan sect. When Ting Qingshan thought of the battle between over 100,000 warriors 6 hours later, his heart trembled. He wasn't afraid for himself, but for his friends and family. In the chaotic battle, will cousin and Xiao Yu be able to survive? In the battle between thousands of soldiers and horses, even Ting Qingshan wasn't sure if he could survive, let alone Qingyu and Qinghu. When Ting Qingshan thought of this, he felt even more uneasy. Teacher, I will go to the inner city to have a look. Ting Qingshan looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. Previously, Zhuge Yuanhong had told Ting Qingshan not to be 10 zhang away from him. Zhuge Yuanhong glanced at him and said, "Go. Come back in 6 hours." Okay. Ting Qingshan nodded and ran towards the south. The inner city and Jiangning County City had 2 walls that overlap. This was because the inner city of the Guiyuan sect was located in the southeast area of Jiangning County City. Therefore, the eastern and southern city walls of the inner city were part of the eastern and southern city walls of the county city. In Gu Yong's tent in the army of Qinghu Island, a huge map was hung on the side of the tent. It was a detailed map of the entire Jiangning County. Gu Yong stood in front of the map and analyzed it carefully. After thousands of years, the changes are indeed great. Gu Yong frowned as he studied the map carefully. However, according to the map of Emperor Yu's treasure, the location of the treasure should be in this area of Jiangning County. However, after thousands of years of changes, it's really hard to find. He analyzed the geographical location carefully. "Father!" A voice suddenly came from outside the tent. Gu Yong immediately turned and smiled. "Shiyu, come in." However, when his gaze swept across the square table in the tent, his smile instantly disappeared. With a cold expression, he hastily walked to the side of the square table. His gaze fell on a piece of paper on the table. He picked up the paper. "Father!" Gu Shiyu walked in and looked at his father in confusion. Looking at the contents of the paper, Gu Yong's expression turned ugly. He shouted, "Shiyu, ask Elder Zhao, Elder Yuan, Elder Hu, and Elder One to come here." "Yes, father." Gu Shiyu was shocked. This time, among the 13 innate experts of Qinghu Island, 5 were Golden Dan innate experts. Besides Gu Yong, the other 5 were the 4 elders that Gu Yong had just mentioned. "Father, why did you suddenly summon the 4 law-enforcing elders?" Gu Shiyu didn't understand, but he felt something big happened. In the inner city of the Guiyuan sect, there were 3,000 black armored core soldiers, 30,000 city guards, 4,000 core disciples, and 20,000 outer disciples. The entire inner city was filled with people. In a watchtower, there were only Zhuge Yun and Qingyu. Zhuge Yun, who was wearing a full suit of armor, held Qingyu's hand and said in a low voice, "It will be dark in 6 hours. If our Guiyuan sect really can't withstand the battle tonight and starts to collapse, there will definitely be people who will flee. Remember, at that time, you will also mix with a large group of people and flee. You will come with me," Qingyu, who was wearing a red-scaled battle armor, said. When the red-scaled beast's battle armor was brought back, the sovereign gave Ting Qingshan 2 sets. These 2 sets were given by Ting Qingshan to his cousin, Ting Qinghu, and his sister, Qingyu. "Stop fooling around!" Zhuge Yun shouted angrily. Qingyu froze. Zhuge Yun was a very optimistic person and rarely used such a tone. "Qingyu." Zhuge Yun's eyes widened and were bloodshot. "To tell you the truth, I am afraid when I think about what will happen in 6 hours. In 1 night, Tai Yi Hall will be destroyed in just 1 night. Even if our Guiyuan sect is lucky enough to survive, there will definitely be a lot of death. I am the young sovereign. I am the son of Zhuge Yuanhong. I can't escape, and you? Qingyu, I don't want to see you die. Do you understand?" Qingyu's eyes turned red as she shook her head and said, "No, if we die together." "Qingyu, little Yun." A voice sounded. The 2 turned their heads and saw a black figure standing at the watchtower's entrance. "Brother!" Qingyu hastily shouted. "Little Yun." Ting Qingshan stared at Zhuge Yun and said, "Tonight, many people will die. I will fight with the men of Qing Hu Island in the outer city. In the sect's rules, my sister can leave. However, because of you, she insisted on defending the city with you. Therefore, you must protect her." Among the core disciples, those who entered the sect for a short period of time could leave. As for Qingyu, she entered the Guiyuan sect for about half a year, which was too short. She could leave the Guiyuan sect. However, because of Zhuge Yun, Qingyu refused to leave alone. "Qingyu will live well. I promise." Zhuge Yun gritted his teeth and said. Ting Qingshan looked at him, and then turned to look at Qingyu. "You are very stubborn." Ting Qingshan sighed. Thinking of his sister in danger, Ting Qingshan was really unwilling. He even wanted to take his sister out by force. However, last night, his sister's determined eyes made him change his mind. If it was him and Kitten, they would probably not separate even before death. "Brother!" Qingyu's voice was very low. Ting Qingshan stretched out his hand and touched Qingyu's head, just like when they were young. "Remember, live." Ting Qingshan's eyes were a little red. "Brother, let's have breakfast together tomorrow." Qingyu couldn't help but cry. Ting Qingshan looked at Zhuge Yun and then at his sister. "Okay, let's have breakfast together tomorrow." Ting Qingshan immediately turned and left. Perhaps this would be the last time he would see his sister. However, life is a process of choice. Choose to leave your lover and save your life. Or choose to live and die with your lover. Ting Qingshan respected his sister's choice. Fight, fight. Ting Qingshan left the inner city and returned to the outer city. Time passed. The sky darkened very early in the winter. After 4 hours, the sky was completely dark. On the city wall, everyone held their weapons tightly. It will be 6 hours soon. Ting Qingshan looked at the needle of the hourglass. Suddenly, he heard footsteps. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw his cousin, Qinghu, standing beside him. "Cousin, if I didn't bring you to Guiyuan sect, you might be very happy in Tingjia village. You might even have a wife and a son. Do you regret it?" Ting Qingshan said in a low voice. Ting Qinghu grinned. "Why are you talking about this? None of the men in Tingjia village are afraid of death. However, I do regret not getting married. If I died, the family line would be broken. However, I, Ting Qinghu, have become a centurion of the Black Armored Corps. It's better than being an ordinary villager for the rest of my life. Motherf *Ker, tonight I will kill." Ting Qingshan patted Qinghu's shoulder and didn't say anything. Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on the hourglass below. 6 hours are up. Ting Qingshan's pupils shrank. Dong, dong, dong. Heavy sounds that were like drums pounding on people's hearts resounded. 3 li below the city, Qing Hu Island's barracks immediately became noisy. On the walls of Jiangning County City, the soldiers held their weapons tightly. Motherf *Ker. Ting Qinghu gritted his teeth and stared into the distance. Ting Qingshan held his reincarnation spear and stared into the distance. Chapter 193. The Guiyuan sect's soldiers were standing on the city wall, and there was no end to them. The cold swords and spears in their hands reflected a cold light in the dark night. Their bloodshot eyes were filled with determination and madness. For their Guiyuan sect, they would fight to the death. Fight, fight. Ting Qingshan frowned. 3 li away, the silver dragon soldiers of Qing Hu Island were galloping on their war horses. 10,000 horses galloping. The earth trembled. What are they doing? Are they going to crash into the city wall on their war horses? Ting Qingshan was confused. He wasn't the only one who was confused. Many people of the Guiyuan sect were confused as well. They saw a great number of silver dragon soldiers galloping on their war horses suddenly turn. They were galloping towards the northwest direction. There were a few forks on the official road outside the east gate of Jiangning County City. One was to head south, towards River Source City, Yanjiang City, and so on. The other led to the north, all the way to Shuyang County. One of them headed northwest, bypassing Jiangning County City, before heading west towards E City, Huafeng City, and so on. Are they going to attack the North Gate? Ting Qingshan was shocked. If they bypass the North Gate, they could attack the North Gate or even the West Gate. Among the 4 gates of Jiangning County City, the East Gate was the most heavily guarded. Commander Zhang, lead your 1,500 Black Armored Corps to support the North Gate. Zhuge Yuanhong shouted. Yes. Zhang Feng immediately led his 1,500 Black Armored Corps and rushed towards the North Gate. As the great number of soldiers galloped towards the northwest direction, the 13 innate experts of Qing Hu Island also rode their war horses and followed the army. These 13 people are also rushing towards the North Gate. It seems like they are going to attack the North Gate. Could it be that they have planted spies at the North Gate? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Zhuge Yuanhong, who was beside him, immediately ordered, Elder Feng, lead 10,000 city guards and follow me to the North Gate. With a command, the bustling crowd quickly rushed over. The 3 law enforcement elders, including Ting Qingshan, also rushed to the North City Gate with Zhuge Yuanhong. Ting Qingshan and the others ran along the city walls, while the other party ran along the road outside the city. The official road outside the city required a lot of detours. Moreover, the speed of an innate ranker's qinggong was much faster than that of a warhorse. At night, at the North Gate of Jiangning County City, torches were stuck on top of the city wall. There were originally 5,000 city guards guarding the area. The 4 innate rankers of the Guiyuan sect arrived at the North City Gate in no time. Teacher, Qing Hu Island wants to attack the North City Gate. However, they had 13 inborn experts. To think that they would do such a thing. Did they plant a spy at the North Gate? Ting Qingshan asked worriedly. Just watch. Zhuge Yuanhong was as calm and collected as ever. Finally, the vanguard of Qing Hu Island's army arrived at the forked road 2 li away from the northern city gate. However, the strange thing was, they didn't turn and run towards the city gate. Instead, they continued to run along the official road towards the west. They want to attack the West City Gate? Yen Matian frowned. The 3 law-enforcing elders were puzzled. What was Qing Hu Island planning? We only need to keep an eye on the 13 innate rankers, Zhuge Yuanhong said with a smile. Soon, he saw Gu Yong and a group of people following the army on their warhorses. To the West City Gate, Zhuge Yuanhong ordered. Feng Er, bring your men and follow me to the West City Gate. Zhang Feng and his 1,500 soldiers, who had just rushed from the East City Gate to the North City Gate, could only continue to run towards the West City Gate. At the West City Gate of Jiangning County City, the soldiers of the Black Armored Corps had great endurance. Every one of them wore heavy armor. F***ck, they made us run such a long way. Later, we must kill all these sons of B***cheese. Some of the Black Armored Corps soldiers were burning with anger. Qing Hu Island's army was approaching, and everyone was already worried. However, although they were worried, none of the Black Armored Corps soldiers were afraid. If they were to die, they would die on the battlefield. However, who would have thought that after 6 hours, the men of Qing Hu Island actually ran a big circle from the East City Gate to the West City Gate? Wasn't this toying with them? Ting Qingshan stood on top of the city wall and looked into the distance. The leading soldiers of Qing Hu Island had already rushed to the crossroads. Clop, 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 clop. The dense sounds of horse hooves caused the earth to tremble. The group of Silver Dragon soldiers actually pulled back the reins and galloped towards the west. What are they playing? Ting Qingshan was dumbfounded. They are still running west? Commander Zhang Feng, who was running from behind, was also shocked when he saw this. Jiangning County City was only so big. They had already reached the west city gate, and they were still running west. Rumble, the army of thousands of men and horses galloped towards the west. On top of the city wall of Jiangning County, the soldiers who were prepared to fight to the death were all shocked. That's strange. Yan Maqian laughed in surprise. That Gu Yong even said something fierce at noon. He said that he would burn the Gui Yuan sect to the ground in 6 hours. But what are they doing now? They ran from the east city gate to the west city gate, and are still running west. Could it be that they are preparing to run 10 li away, then turn back and fight with us? If this was really the case, then the men of Qinghu Island must be crazy. That's really strange. The cold middle-aged man, who had been wearing a cold face, also smiled. Let's see which direction the 13 innate experts are going. A smile also appeared on Zhuge Yuanhong's face. Finally, the middle part of the endless army of Qinghu Island dashed to the crossroads outside the city. Gu Yong and the other 13 innate experts were together, each of them riding their horses towards the west. If they went further west, they would be in the direction of Yi City and Huafeng City. Gu Yong. A clear voice echoed between heaven and earth. Zhuge Yuanhong stood on top of the city wall with a smile on his face. Forgive me, Zhuge Yuanhong, but I won't see you off. Haha, Zhuge Yuanhong, I underestimated you. Gu Yong's deep voice also echoed in the sky. The 13 innate experts quickly disappeared from sight, and a large number of soldiers of Qinghu Island dashed towards the west. On the west city wall, Ting Qingshan, Elder Yen, Elder Zhu, Commander Zhang Feng, and many soldiers of the Black Armored Corps all looked at Sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong. Everyone was stunned. They retreated. The army of Qinghu Island retreated without attacking. And from the conversation just now, as long as one wasn't stupid, anyone who heard Zhuge Yuanhong, I underestimated you, could probably guess that Qinghu Island mobilized a large army to suppress them, but after saying some fierce words, they retreated dejectedly. It definitely had something to do with Sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong. Look at all of you. Are you all stunned? Zhuge Yuanhong laughed. Zhuge Yuanhong, who had been calm the whole day, finally laughed heartily at this time. City guards, continue to keep watch on the city wall tonight. In a moment there will be meat and wine sent up. Everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. Of course, pay attention to the men of Qinghu Island and see if they come back. Yes, Sovereign. The guards all cheered. All soldiers of the Black Armored Corps returned to the inner city. Zhuge Yuanhong laughed and said, Tonight, our Gu Yuan sect will celebrate. Immediately, the people on the city wall cheered. Tonight, the 6,000 soldiers of the Black Armored Corps, over 10,000 core disciples, and tens of thousands of outer disciples were celebrating wildly. Everyone was very excited after coming back from the gates of hell. Although everyone was prepared to fight to the death, it would be better if they could protect the Gui Yuan sect without fighting. My good brothers, friends, and family won't have to die. Ting Qingshan was also very happy. Without losing a single soldier, the Gui Yuan sect would be safe. Master Tiandan and his good brothers of the Black Armored Corps, and his own family wouldn't have to die. Inside the Gui Yuan sect, the light from the torches illuminated the entire sect. Lanterns and torches could be seen everywhere, making the place very lively. It was even more joyous than the annual sacrifice. The Gui Yuan sect would be safe, and every disciple was very excited. Haha, didn't Gu Yong, the island lord of Qinghu Island, say arrogantly that he would destroy the Gui Yuan sect in 6 hours? Yes, Gu Yong was very arrogant, but in the end, he still left with his tail between his legs. Our sovereign is the best. He didn't do anything, but he scared Qinghu Island away. The disciples of the Gui Yuan sect were celebrating in joy. Brother, little Yu, Ting Qingshan and his sister, Qingyu, hugged each other tightly. Their family was together, and they could be happy together. It was really good. It's all because of Master that no one died. Ting Qingshan looked into the distance and saw the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, who was still dressed in a white cloak and chatting with some elders. That Gu Yong, the island lord of Qinghu Island, has mobilized a large number of troops to besiege the city. He even threatened us. It was definitely not an act. But why did he run west in the end? Why didn't he fight? What did Master do to make 13 innate experts choose to retreat without a fight? Ting Qingshan's heart was filled with endless questions. While the Guiyuan sect was celebrating, the men of Qinghu Island were advancing silently in the dark. The 13 innate experts gathered together. What a shame! Qinghu Island mobilized a large force and threatened us, but in the end they retreated without a fight. I'm afraid they will become the laughingstock of the world. The silver-haired handsome young man, Zhao Danchen, said with hatred. Gu Yong, who was dressed in a yellow cloak, shook his head and sighed. I underestimated Zhuge Yuanhong and the Guiyuan sect. That Zhuge Yuanhong really broke through the Golden Dan innate realm and reached the mysterious emptiness realm? The middle-aged man, Elder Hu, still couldn't believe it. Gu Yong sighed. I was looking at the map in the big tent. Before I looked at the map, that piece of paper wasn't on the table. In just a short while, this piece of paper appeared on the table. I was the only one in the big tent. To be able to place a piece of paper on the table without me noticing, and to even leave quietly, it's impossible. This strength, he definitely broke through the Golden Dan innate realm. Gu Yong sighed, so, I don't doubt that the paper said both sides suffered. For more than 1,000 years, no one in the Guiyuan sect broke through the Golden Dan innate realm. These innate experts all felt very heavy. For more than 1,000 years, no one in the Guiyuan sect was able to break through the Golden Dan innate realm. Could it be that someone in this generation of the Guiyuan sect was able to break through? Don't think too much. Gu Yong said indifferently, we have to admit that the Guiyuan sect is strong. Qinghu Island also gained a lot from annihilating Tai Yihal. We found the treasure map of Emperor Yu's treasure. If we can get Emperor Yu's treasure, Qinghu Island might be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Mani Temple one day. According to the geographical changes in the past thousands of years, I carefully checked and finally determined that the location of Emperor Yu's treasure should be in the Great Yen Mountain of Yi City in Jiangning County. Chapter 194. Jiangning County City, Guiyuan Sect. After the hustle and bustle, it became quiet. It was already late at night, and the Guiyuan sect was pitch black. Occasionally there would be a few scattered lights. The Guiyuan sect was so quiet. It was impossible to tell that the Guiyuan sect was facing a crisis of extermination not long ago. In Zhuge Yuanhong's study room, a white candle emitted a faint light, enveloping the study room in a faint halo. 4 people were gathered in the study room, Zhuge Yuanhong and 3 law-enforcing elders. Teacher, why are you looking for us? Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Today was really enjoyable. Elder Yen Matian's entire body reeked of alcohol, and his face was flushed red. I never dreamed that Gu Yong would actually lead his Qinghu Island's army and escape with their tails between their legs without attacking. Haha! So enjoyable! The only thing that didn't make him happy today was those spineless things. There were actually 2 protectors and 1 commandant who wanted to escape before the battle even started. The cold-looking middle-aged man at the side nodded. These people should be killed. According to the sovereign's order, anyone with the rank of protector, commandant, or even higher would have their dantian broken and be locked in the dungeon if they escaped. If they resisted, they would be sentenced to death. As for those below the rank of protector and commandant, if they escaped, they would be locked in the dungeon. If they resisted, they would also be sentenced to death. However, the protectors, commandant, elders, and many others knew that Tai Yihal was exterminated, so they were naturally terrified. This is unavoidable. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, "Our Gui Yuan sect has not faced such a dangerous situation for a long time. Many protectors, commandant, and elders have not experienced such a dangerous situation. When they have to make a choice between death and survival with the sect, it is not strange that they choose to keep their lives." Ting Qingshan nodded and said, "Only in danger can we see a person's heart." "You are right." Zhuge Yuanhong looked at Ting Qingshan and asked, "Qingshan, did you kill Tai Wanmao of Qinghu Island in Yanjiang City?" Ting Qingshan nodded. Qingshan killed Tai Wanmao in just 3 moves in front of the formation. Yan Matian praised, "Qingshan's spear technique is truly powerful." Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, "It seems that Qinghu Island already knows that Qingshan has reached the innate realm. Qingshan, from now on, you have to be wary of the people of Qinghu Island." "Beware of them?" Ting Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. Would the men of Qinghu Island kill him? The grave and stern middle-aged man also said coldly, "Qingshan, sovereign is right. You must be alert. That Gu Yong of Qinghu Island is an unscrupulous person. Now in Yangzhou, only Qinghu Island and my Gui Yuan sect are left. The existence of our Gui Yuan sect is like a fishbone stuck in their throat, and you are a 17-year-old innate expert. In their eyes, you are a bigger threat than me. Qingshan, elder and I is right." Zhuge Yuanhong said solemnly, "Of course, you are now an emptiness Dan innate expert. They are not in a hurry. If you improve in the future, it will be even more shocking. The men of Qinghu Island will probably play tricks in the dark." Yangzhou, one of the 9 prefectures. Now, only Qinghu Island and Gui Yuan sect were left. The relationship between the two could be imagined. Even if they seemed peaceful on the surface, they would definitely want to destroy each other secretly. "Teacher, I understand." Ting Qingshan nodded. The current him was not a threat to Qinghu Island. No matter how talented he was only an emptiness Dan innate expert. Qinghu Island could easily send some innate experts to kill him. However, in a few decades, he would be a threat. However, the current Qinghu Island doesn't dare to offend Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong said, "Plus, you are only an emptiness Dan innate expert now. They are not in a hurry. They will probably start to act when you reach the true Dan innate expert. If you reach the golden Dan innate expert, Qinghu Island will not be able to bear it." Zhuge Yuanhong smiled. Of course, assassinating the genius disciple of the other party. This is a very embarrassing thing. As one of the 8 supreme sects, they usually won't do it. However, if you cultivate at an astonishing speed in the future, they will have no choice but to do it. Ting Qingshan also understood this. Some people cultivate fast at the beginning, but later on, their cultivation slows down. If Ting Qingshan reached the true Dan innate expert at the age of 50 and the golden Dan innate expert at the age of 100, Qinghu Island would not treat Ting Qingshan as a great threat. It was very embarrassing to assassinate the genius disciple of the other party. However, the reputation of Qinghu Island was very important. To force them to shamelessly assassinate, only Ting Qingshan's cultivation speed was really astonishing. For example, he reached the true Dan innate expert at the age of 20 and the golden Dan innate expert at the age of 30. If Ting Qingshan's cultivation speed was so fast, Qinghu Island would have to deal with Ting Qingshan no matter how shameless they were. Of course, the Gui Yuan sect would also protect Ting Qingshan. This is also a training for you. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, "With the protection of the Gui Yuan sect, the occasional assassinations will be beneficial to your cultivation. Only in battles of life and death could one's state of mind be tempered, and it would be easier to break through the realm." "Teacher, you said that Qinghu Island does not dare to offend Gui Yuan sect?" Ting Qingshan said. "Good question, Qingshan. I am also confused, Sovereign." Yen Matian also stared at Zhuge Yuanhong. What method did you use today? They were so scared that they did not dare to fight and ran away. The cold-looking middle-aged man, Elder and I, also stared at the sovereign in confusion. The three law-enforcing elders did not know. This secret should only be known by the sovereign. Zhuge Yuanhong glanced at the three and said, "You guys have probably guessed it. I will tell you. The Gui Yuan sect," Zhuge Yuanhong said confidently, "has an emptiness realm expert." Emptiness realm. Elder Yen and Elder and I took a deep breath. They were both surprised and happy. Emptiness realm? Ting Qingshan was confused. "Teacher, what is the emptiness realm?" Ting Qingshan asked. Elder Yen said in surprise, "Qingshan, you don't know?" Ting Qingshan shook his head. "Qingshan cultivates the Dark Moon Spear technique." Zhuge Yuanhong explained, "The two of you cultivate the Heaven Class Secret Codex." The last page of the Heaven Class Secret Codex has a description of the emptiness realm. Qingshan's Dark Moon Spear technique is an Earth-class secret codex, and it only talks about the Golden Dan of the innate realm. Elder Yen and Elder and I suddenly understood. Ting Qingshan finally understood. The Heaven-class secret codex described the emptiness realm. Qingshan is one of the 8 supreme sects in the world. Among them, Mani Temple is a Buddhist sect that cultivates Sarira and pursues the Arhat and Bodhisattva realm. As for the other 7 supreme sects, they cultivate essence into Qi, Qi into spirit, and spirit into emptiness. Among them, cultivating essence into Qi is the post-liminary realm. Cultivating Qi into spirit is the innate realm. As for spirit into emptiness, it is the emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan immediately understood. "Qingshan, didn't you ask me what realm the demonic monk Xiang Fanchen from 600 years ago was in? He is an emptiness realm expert," Zhuge Yuanhong said. Ting Qingshan still remembered his teacher said that the demonic monk Xiang Fanchen of Mani Temple was once invincible under the heavens. An emptiness realm expert is invincible under the heavens? Ting Qingshan said in surprise, "If my Guiyuan sect has an emptiness realm expert, then," Elder and I interrupted, "although there are very few emptiness realm experts in the world, it is impossible for there to be only 1 or 2. Otherwise, wouldn't an emptiness realm expert be able to unify the world? It is said that the 8 supreme sects in the land of the 9 prefectures, every sect should have an emptiness realm expert." Zhuge Yuanhong hastily said, "Qingshan, remember, this is just a rumor. Among the 8 supreme sects, only the Mani Temple, the Ying family, and the Emperor Yu's Hall were created by the 3 omnipotent experts. The other 5 supreme sects were created by the emptiness realm expert. As for the emptiness realm, it is too difficult to reach. Therefore, it is hard to say if there is an emptiness realm expert in each of the 8 supreme sects." Ting Qingshan frowned and asked, "Is this a secret? An innate expert has a lifespan of 200 years. An emptiness realm expert has a lifespan of 500 years. No one can live forever." Zhuge Yuanhong said, "Once one reaches the emptiness realm, he can live up to 500 years old. Once the emptiness realm experts of the 8 supreme sects die of old age, before a new emptiness realm expert is born, it is the most dangerous time." Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. An emptiness realm expert was equivalent to a nuclear bomb in his previous life. If a country had a nuclear bomb, it could deter other countries and make others not dare to attack it. However, without a nuclear bomb, the country would be bullied. Therefore, it is best to keep the existence of an emptiness realm expert a secret. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, "For example now, that Gu Yong found out that there is an emptiness realm expert in our Guiyuan sect. Then, for at least a few hundred years, they won't dare to touch us, because the revenge of an emptiness realm expert is terrifying. Moreover, with the guidance of an emptiness realm expert, Then, in a few hundred years, another emptiness realm expert will appear in the sect. The possibility is much higher. This is also the reason why the 8 supreme sects are so deeply rooted. When Ting Qingshan heard this, he sighed inwardly. An emptiness realm expert was the absolute trump card of a sect. With an emptiness realm expert, no one would dare to provoke them. No wonder Qing Hu Island fled with their tails between their legs. However, an emptiness realm expert could live up to 500 years. It was rumored that each of the 8 supreme sects in the land of the 9 prefectures had an emptiness realm expert. This was just a rumor. Maybe there is a hollow radish in the 8 supreme sect. Ting Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief. No wonder teacher was not anxious at all. He had such a trump card. The next morning, at the foot of the Great Yen Mountain in Yi City, the army of Qing Hu Island, which had traveled for an entire night, was camped at the foot of the Great Yen Mountain. The camp stretched for a few li, and the island lord, Gu Yong, was in the big tent. Island lord, this Emperor Yu's map is from thousands of years ago. After so many years, the terrain has changed too much. It will be difficult to find Emperor Yu's treasure. The 13 innate experts stood in front of the few maps and carefully compared them. Among these maps, the oldest one was only a map from 2,000 years ago. Moreover, it was copied from a stone tablet. Gu Yong said in a deep voice, "The location of the treasure on Emperor Yu's treasure map should be in the lake." Moreover, according to research, the Great Yen Mountain was actually 2 mountain ranges separated by a great lake a long time ago. Unexpectedly, after thousands of years, the Great Lake disappeared and the 2 mountain ranges merged into one. The treasure was in the lake, and the location of the lake should be the current Great Yen Mountain. But now there was only a mountain here. There was no lake. Everyone, how do you think we should find Emperor Yu's treasure? Gu Yong swept a glance at the other 12 innate experts. P.S. Today is Grandpa Tomato's 80th birthday. We ate dinner very late and the first one was even later. I wish my grandpa happiness is as boundless as the East Sea and as long as the South Mountain, 80 years old. It is a joyous event if a person can live to 80 years old. Chapter 195. The silver-haired handsome young man, Zhao Danshan, frowned. The lake must be covered by the mountain. Since Emperor Yu's treasure is at the bottom of the lake, it must be deep under the Great Yen Mountain. Martial uncle, Emperor Yu's treasure must be under the mountain. This is certain. However, the Great Yen Mountain is over 100 li from the north to the south. Even if Emperor Yu were alive, he wouldn't be able to turn the entire mountain upside down. Elder Hu shook his head. The 13 innate experts instantly fell silent. Ever since they guessed that Guiyuan sect had an emptiness realm expert, they felt pressured. A sect with an emptiness realm expert was in Yangzhou, just like Qing Hu Island. This was a great threat. Although there were countless warriors in the land of the 9 prefectures, the 8 supreme sects also had many innate experts, who were the pillars of the sections. However, an emptiness realm expert, as long as there was one, the sect wouldn't be destroyed. In the entire land of the 9 prefectures, there were probably only 10 emptiness realm experts. Who would have thought that one would appear in Guiyuan sect? Therefore, Gu Yong and the others were even more eager to obtain Emperor Yu's treasure. Island Lord, the purple-cloaked woman said, the people who are most familiar with the Great Yen Mountain are the mountain people. Especially the mountain people who rely on hunting for a living. They often enter the mountain and are very familiar with the Great Yen Mountain. If we use them, we can probably find Emperor Yu's treasure quickly. Gu Yong's eyes brightened as he praised, "This is a good idea." Yes, using the mountain people to find Emperor Yu's treasure is a good idea. Zhao Danshan nodded. Junior Marshal Brother Lan, send the order immediately. Order the Silver Dragon Army to capture more mountain people. Remember, they often enter the mountain. Gu Yong ordered. Yes, Island Lord. The order was quickly passed down. The 100-man teams of the Silver Dragon Army headed south or north. In short, they followed the foot of the Great Yen Mountain and searched for a mountain village. Jia! 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 Over 100 Silver Dragon soldiers were galloping on their war horses. The heavy armors of these soldiers were all black heavy armors that were inlaid with silver patterns. The sight of over 100 heavily armored soldiers galloping at high speed was enough to frighten the people on the public road. There is a village in front. Go. The leader shouted coldly. Yes, young Island Lord. More than 100 riders rushed forward quickly. The heavy sound of hooves had already alerted the villagers in the villa. Many of the men in the villa were holding long spears with red tassels. The main gate of the villa was tightly shut. The one at the forefront was the young island master, Gu Shiyu. His gaze turned cold, and the black spear in his hand turned into a black afterimage. Puff! The tip of the spear instantly pierced through the latch of the manor's gate, and then the mount directly smashed the gate open. Everyone, get out of the way! The clansmen in the villa hurriedly dodged. Nay, nay, only after the hundreds of Silver Dragon cavalrymen charged into the spacious training field of the villa did they stop their horses. Gu Shiyu's gaze swept across the terrified villagers, and he shouted coldly, Get your tribe leader to come here! Sir! Very quickly, a sturdy man dressed in a beast-skin robe with messy hair and an iron spear in his hand walked out from the crowd and said respectfully, What orders does Lord have for our Tai family village? Listen to me carefully. Get the 3 best hunters in your village to come out and come with us. Gu Shiyu's gaze was cold, and his voice was icy cold. Remember, the 3 best hunters. If we find out that you are lying, Qinghu Island can destroy your small village in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. Many of the villagers in the training field were so scared that their faces turned pale. The children didn't even dare to make a sound. Qinghu Island? The chief of Tai family village was shocked. Seeing the war horses and heavy armor of the approaching people, the chief realized that the approaching people were not something the White Horse Gang could compare to. He had seen the White Horse Gang's White Horse Battalion before. Whether it was the war horses, heavy armor, or the imposing manner, they were all incomparable to the people in front of him. Destroying their village in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea was indeed enough. Lords of Qinghu Island, it is our honor to look up to the men of Tai family village. Third brother, Hu Zi Tai Tu. The 3 of you, follow the lords of Qinghu Island. The chief immediately said. Immediately, 3 sturdy men walked out. Gu Shiyu swept his gaze across them. The 3 of you, ride the war horses with my subordinate. Quickly, get on the horses, Gu Shiyu shouted. Although the 3 hunters were cautious, they still quickly rode the war horses with the 3 Silver Dragon soldiers. Let's go. Gu Shiyu turned his horse around and shouted. Immediately, over 100 riders galloped away and quickly disappeared at the end of the official road. Only the mountain people were left to worry about their 3 clansmen. However, there was nothing they could do. Living in this chaotic world, it was already good enough for their clansmen to survive. Gu Shiyu and his group ran along the foot of the Great Yen Mountain towards the northwest direction. Along the way, they had already captured 27 men. They took 3 men from each village. On the official road, the 27 men on their war horses were all very nervous. These were all men with guts and guts. However, when they heard the name Qinghu Island, who wouldn't be afraid? In their eyes, the Guiyuan sect was the sky of Jiangning County. It could be said to be the supreme existence. As for Qinghu Island, it was a great sect that was much stronger than the Guiyuan sect. Not to mention killing them, even killing the powerful White Horse Gang in their eyes would be as easy as killing an ant. In front of the men of Qinghu Island, these brave men could only listen obediently. Stop! Gu Shiyu shouted loudly. Immediately, over 100 riders quickly stopped. Gu Shiyu turned his head and looked at the cautious men. Let me ask you, at the foot of the great Yen Mountain, which village has the most powerful hunters? Each of the men looked at each other. Speak. Gu Shiyu's face turned cold. Within a radius of 10 li, the most powerful hunters are obviously the hunters of Tingjia village. Finally, a lean man opened his mouth and said, Many of our hunting squads don't dare to go too deep into the Great Yen Mountain. However, the hunters of Tingjia village dare to go anywhere in the Great Yen Mountain. The bald man wearing a beast skin robe at the side hastily said, The men of Tingjia village are the bravest men within a radius of 10 li. In the past, thousands of mounted gangsters attacked, but they were chased away by Tingjia village. Even the White Horse Gang doesn't dare to take the annual tribute from Tingjia village. Each of the men immediately began to speak. It was very obvious that their tone contained admiration and envy towards Tingjia village. Tingjia village has produced an amazing hero called Ting Qingshan. He is currently the commander of the Black Armored Corps of the Guiyuan sect. He is an amazing person. Back then, when he was only 10 years old, Ting Qingshan was able to kill wolves in the Great Yen Mountain as if he was mowing grass. When mentioning Tingjia village, it was necessary to mention Ting Qingshan. Gu Shiyu frowned and immediately revealed a smile as he thought to himself, Tingjia village? Ting Qingshan. This Ting Qingshan really came from a village in E-City. I didn't expect to meet him so coincidentally. Gu Shiyu knew a lot about Ting Qingshan. You guys lead the way to Tingjia village, Gu Shiyu said. My lord, that is the hometown of the commander of the Black Armored Corps. The men all looked towards Gu Shiyu. I asked you guys to lead the way, Gu Shiyu shouted. Yes. The men didn't dare to resist. As the horses galloped, Gu Shiyu looked around at the scenery of the mountains and farmland. Ting Qingshan grew up in this place? Gu Shiyu thought to himself, a stinking brat who came from a remote and desolate mountain. In the past, Gu Shiyu still had a bit of confidence when facing Ting Qingshan. However, now that he knew that Ting Qingshan had reached the innate realm, Gu Shiyu was filled with jealousy. He grew up in a poor village, entered the Guiyuan sect at the age of 16, and reached the innate realm at the age of 17. Gu Shiyu couldn't understand. Gu Shiyu didn't know. Perhaps he wanted to be famous throughout the world. However, Ting Qingshan was different from him. Ting Qingshan's first goal was to let the people of his hometown, Tingjia village, live a good life. If he wanted to ensure that this good life would continue, he needed to become stronger. This was because he had more than 2,000 clansmen behind him. His second goal was to pursue the peak. Tingjia village was the largest village within a radius of 10 li. In this winter, a group of strong men only wore unlined clothes, and some were even bare-chested. Each and every one of them was constantly practicing the tiger fist that Ting Qingshan had passed down. They also realized that practicing the spear for a long time would be tiring. However, when practicing the tiger fist, once they got the feeling, the more they practiced, the stronger they became. Now, in Tingjia village, there was a group of men with the strength of 1,000 jin. Tingjia village weapon shop. After the expansion, the weapon shop could allow 10 blacksmiths to forge weapons at the same time. Steady. Jen, when you swing the iron hammer, the first thing you must do is steady. Don't ask for speed. Every swing must be steady. Ting Yongfan wore unlined clothes, and with his hands behind his back, he walked between the iron furnaces and scolded them. The entire weapon shop was in full swing. There were more than 20 people in the weapon shop. Stop! Ting Yongfan suddenly shouted. The apprentices in the weapon shop, who were pumping bellows, forging iron, and moving materials, suddenly quieted down. With this silence, they all felt the ground tremble slightly. The sound of horse hooves. The sound of horse hooves is so heavy that I can feel the ground tremble. That warhorse must be carrying a lot of weight and its speed is also fast. Ting Yongfan frowned. You guys stay here, I will go out and take a look. Ting Yongfan extended his hand, grabbed a Damascus steel spear, and strode out. Yes, teacher. Not long after Ting Yongfan walked out of the weapon shop, a young man rushed over from afar and anxiously shouted, Chief! There is a group of people outside. Looking at the war horses and heavy armor, they are not any weaker than Brother Qingshan's black armored corps. However, they don't look like the black armored corps. Now that Tingjia village had stabilized and the old chief, Ting Yunlong, was enjoying a comfortable life, Ting Yongfan was the next chief. Ting Yongfan's son was the commander of the Black Armored Corps, and he himself was the #1 blacksmith. After mastering the Tiger Fist, his strength became even more amazing. Ting Yongfan became the chief, and everyone trusted him. They don't look like the Black Armored Corps? Let's go. Ting Yongfan felt that something was wrong and immediately rushed to the training field. Chapter 196. In the training field of Tingjia village, the men who had just finished practicing the Tiger Fist had steam rising from their bodies. After the heavy snowfall, the cold river water had frozen. However, the men of Tingjia village were obviously very strong. They held their red tasseled spears and stared at the outsiders in the center of the training field. Over 100 heavy cavalrymen. Yes, not bad. Gu Shiyu sat high on his warhorse and swept his gaze over the men of the Ting clan. He then swept his gaze over the frightened and worried women and children. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile as he said, as expected of the #1 village within a radius of 10 li. To be bare-chested in the middle of winter. Not bad. Although Gu Shiyu said this, he had never looked down on these barbarians. As the young master of Qinghu Island, he could turn a village into scorched earth with just one word. If it was an ordinary village, he could slaughter it if he wanted to. However, this was Ting Qingshan's hometown. Once this spread, people would say that Gu Shiyu was jealous of Ting Qingshan and took his anger out on Ting Qingshan's clansmen. He would be laughed at by the world. Family members should not be harmed. This was a rule that warriors believed in. If there was a grudge, one must take revenge. No matter how many people one killed, the world would not say anything. Ting Qingshan actually grew up in such a barbaric and poor place? Gu Shiyu thought to himself. At this moment, the clansmen of Tingjia village rushed out from the alleys. My lord! An aged and deep voice rang out. Gu Shiyu turned his head and saw a silver-haired, sturdy old man. It was the old chief of Tingjia village, Ting Yunlong. At this moment, Ting Yongfan finally arrived and ran to Ting Yunlong's side. Master, Ting Yongfan said in a low voice. Ting Yunlong gave Ting Yongfan a look. Ting Yongfan had just become the chief. In the past, Ting Yunlong was the one who dealt with important matters. I don't know why you have come to Tingjia village. If you have any orders, the clansmen of Tingjia village will do their best. Ting Yunlong said with a smile. This old man who had lived in a chaotic world for his whole life could see that the heavy cavalrymen in front of him were not any weaker than the Black Armored Corps. Therefore, he didn't dare to have any hopes. You are the chief? Gu Shiyu looked at Ting Yunlong. Exactly. Ting Yunlong's body was stuck in front of his disciple, Ting Yongfan. Ting Yongfan's heart was anxious. He knew that at this time, the patriarch would be the first to be unlucky. Ting Yunlong rushed to say that he was the clan leader for his own good. Listen up. Gu Shiyu looked disdainfully at the group of people below and said, Your Tingjia village will choose 3 of the best hunters and temporarily listen to Qinghu Island's orders. Dare I ask, my lord? If the 3 of us go, what will we do? Ting Yunlong asked. Shut up. Gu Shiyu scolded as a cold light flashed in his eyes. You can only listen to me obediently. You're not allowed to ask anything unless I tell you to. If you ask me again, I don't mind killing some people. The group of silver dragon soldiers behind Gu Shiyu held their long spears and stared at the clansmen of Tingjia village with bloodthirsty eyes. Yes, yes, Ting Yunlong replied. 3 of your best hunters. Gu Shiyu turned his head and glanced at the other hunters on the war horses of the silver dragon cavalry. However, I've already heard from the hunters in the other villages. Your Tingjia village's hunters are the most powerful. The leader of the hunting squad is called Ting Qinghao. The number 1 warrior of your Tingjia village is Ting Yongfan. Therefore, these 2 must leave. When Ting Qingshan was young, his father, Ting Yongfan, was the number 1 warrior of the village. After practicing the Tiger Fist, Ting Yongfan's strength was only second to Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu. When Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghao went to Guiyuan sect, Ting Yongfan became the number 1 warrior of the village. Brother Fan. Yuan Lan, who was behind Ting Yongfan, suddenly changed her expression. Ting Yongfan held his wife's hand, appearing very calm. My lord. Ting Yunlong said anxiously, Ting Yongfan is the number 1 warrior of our Tingjia village, but he is the number 1 blacksmith in our village. Therefore, he doesn't enter the mountain. He is not a hunter. Ting Yunlong's words were not true. Although Ting Yongfan was a blacksmith, he had joined the hunting squad when he was young. However, as his blacksmithing skills improved, he gradually stopped joining the hunting squad. Phew! A black shadow lit up. Ting Yunlong's expression changed. He only had time to block with his hands in front of his chest. He only felt a sharp pain in his hands and the sound of bones breaking rang out. Pa! Ting Yunlong was thrown into the air like a broken sandbag. Teacher! Old chief! There were 2 young men in the clan at the place where Ting Yunlong fell. They immediately reached out and caught the old patriarch. Clang! Hua! Seeing this, many of the furious men of the village put on their heavy armor and glared at the newcomers with red eyes. When Tingjia village was weak, they still dared to fight against mounted bandit. Now that Tingjia village was strong. Although they were afraid of the strength of the enemy's heavy cavalry, once their eyes turned red, they were not afraid. Teacher. Foster father. Ting Yongfan and Yuan Lan ran to Ting Yunlong's side. At this moment, Ting Yunlong's mouth had a trace of blood. His hands were trembling, and the white bones could be seen on his bloody hands. Cough, cough. Ting Yunlong coughed twice and squeezed out a smile. Yongfan Lan. I'm fine. Fortunately, I practiced Tiger Fist. Although my hands were crippled, my life was saved. After practicing Tiger Fist, Ting Yunlong's body and internal organs became stronger. Ting Yunlong's hands were unloaded. Although he was injured, it didn't take Ting Yunlong's life. Teacher. Ting Yongfan's eyes were red, and he was about to cry. His teacher, Ting Yunlong's hands were crippled. You're already over 40 years old. Don't be like this. When I was young, your grandfather and I were killing wild beasts in the Great Yen Mountain. Even if my hands and legs were broken, I still clenched my teeth and continued to fight. Ting Yunlong comforted him with a smile. As an old man, Ting Yunlong's endurance was much stronger. Old man, I just said that you can only listen and not ask. This time I didn't take your life, but next time. Gu Shiyu's voice was still indifferent. However, Gu Shiyu was very surprised. Just now, he casually swung his spear to intimidate the people of Tingjia village. Although it was just a casual move, he didn't hold back. He guessed that an old man like him would die without a doubt. However, it was obvious that the old chief of Tingjia village was stronger than he imagined. The men of Tingjia village want to fight with the Silver Dragon army of Qinghu Island? Gu Shiyu's gaze swept across the group of angry men of Tingjia village. The injured Ting Yunlong struggled to stand up. With Ting Yongfan's support, he smiled and said, "How could a poor village like ours dare to fight with the lords of Qinghu Island? Wouldn't that be courting death?" Gu Shiyu smiled. Ting Yunlong then continued, lords of Qinghu Island, you probably don't know that the first commander of the Black Armored Corps of the Guyuan sect, Ting Qingshan, is my grandson. The Tingjia village's training field became silent. It's fine if you want Tingjia village to send 3 hunters. However, Ting Yongfan is Qingshan's father. Moreover, he is a blacksmith, not a hunter. There's no reason for him to follow the lords of Qinghu Island. Ting Yunlong stared at Gu Shiyu. In a clan, the chief was the most important. How could he let the chief be taken away? Gu Shiyu narrowed his eyes. This old man is really troublesome. If the other party didn't mention Ting Qingshan, he could pretend that he didn't know and take Ting Yongfan away. However, the other party mentioned it. If he insisted on taking the father of an innate expert to do hard work, it would be bad for his reputation. Qinghu Island is one of the 8 supreme sects of the 9 prefectures. Ting Yunlong thought to himself, according to the books, the bigger the sect, the more they value their reputation. If I didn't say Qingshan's name, they could pretend that they didn't know. However, if I say it now, they should be able to restrain themselves. Commander Ting of the Guiyuan sect? Gu Shiyu looked around with a surprised expression. I didn't expect that your Tingjia village is Ting Qingshan's hometown. However, Gu Shiyu's expression became cold again. We must take Ting Qinghao and Ting Yongfan away. This is a military order. Military orders must be obeyed. Qinghu Island is the #1 sect in Yangzhou. We can't change our military order for a commander of the Guiyuan sect. As for Ting Qingshan's father, I will report this to the general of the Silver Dragon Army. If the general changes his military order, he will send Ting Yongfan back. But now we must take him away. Anyone who dares to resist will be killed without mercy. Gu Shiyu's eyes were cold. Ting Yunlong's heart trembled. He understood that the other party really wanted to take Ting Yongfan away. If Qinghu Island was determined to take Ting Yongfan away, they could use any excuse. The training field was in an uproar. Many of the clan members were angry. I will go with you. Ting Yongfan stood up. Many people were anxious. Brother Fan. Yuan Lan grabbed his hand. She was so anxious that she almost cried. Ting Yongfan turned his head and smiled. He touched his wife's face and said, Lan, you know that I must go. Yuan Lan's tears flowed down. She understood. It was obvious that the men of Qinghu Island wanted to take Ting Yongfan away. If they didn't listen, many people would die. Fan Qinghao, I will go with you. A white-haired middle-aged man carrying a bow on his back and a long spear in his hand walked out. Father! Ting Qinghao looked at the man in surprise. The man was the spear master of the clan, Ting Yongxiang. Ting Yongxiang was already over 50 years old. Because his wife died early, Ting Yongxiang valued his son, Qinghao. Qinghu Island came with ill intentions, so he was worried about his son. Yes. Ting Yongfan and Ting Yongxiang glanced at each other. The 2 brothers had been together for dozens of years. If they went together, they wouldn't just stand there and wait to be captured. Qinghao. Father. Ting Qinghao's wife and 2 young children grabbed their father. Ting Qinghao touched his children's heads and said, Father is not home. You must listen to mother. Understand? Yes, father. The children's clear and black eyes were filled with tears. Get on the horses. Gu Shiyu frowned and shouted. Ting Yongfan, Ting Yongxiang, and Ting Qinghao smiled at the clansmen. Ting Qinghao and Ting Yongxiang both carried bows and arrows on their back. The 3 of them rode on the same horse with the soldiers of Qinghu Island. Depart. Gu Shiyu ordered. The 100 heavy cavalrymen turned their horses around and left like lightning, leaving behind the worried clansmen of Tingjia village. Chapter 197. Ting Qingshan in Jiangning County didn't know what happened in Yi City's Great Yen Mountain. Jiangning County, Ting residence. Under the pavilion, Ting Qingshan, who was wearing a green robe, sat quietly in front of a stone table. On the stone table was a thick thread-bound book, Dark Moon Spear Technique. The book had already flipped to the second half. According to the description of Dark Moon Spear Technique, in the Emptiness Dan innate realm, the so-called minute subtlety has two parts. As for my vermilion tiger roar, it is extremely demanding on the innate true origin. Obviously, I have already comprehended the minute subtlety. Ting Qingshan understood. The minute subtlety realm was divided into two steps. The first was the minute subtlety of one's own body, and the other was the minute subtlety of space. According to the description of the book, the spirit can leave the body and spread out to an area of 1 zhang. This can last for 10 minutes. To be able to reach the minute subtlety of space is the key to comprehending the true self or selflessness. Ting Qingshan closed his eyes and tried to use his consciousness to jump out of his body. With the experience of controlling the flying knife, Ting Qingshan could easily use his consciousness to leave his body. However, in the past, his consciousness had something attached to it, the flying knife. Now it was empty space. Ting Qingshan frowned and opened his eyes. This spirit doesn't have anything attached to it. It only spreads out around the body, yet it consumes so much energy. In just a short while, Ting Qingshan felt dizzy. He felt dizzy just like when he was training as an assassin in his previous life, and was starved to the limit. It shouldn't consume so much energy. Ting Qingshan tried again. Although the battle between Qing Hu Island and Guiyuan sect didn't really start, it gave Ting Qingshan a lot of pressure. Obviously, although he could fight against a true Dan innate expert with his full strength, in the vast land of the 9 prefectures, his strength was more than enough to protect himself. However, if something big happened, it would be hard for him to intervene. The indescribable pressure made Ting Qingshan work harder, wanting to break through as soon as possible. Now, he wanted to cultivate from the emptiness Dan innate realm to the true Dan innate realm. The second was to create a set of peak internal martial arts cultivation technique that surpassed the godly tiger form technique to make his body stronger. However, it was too difficult. Qingyu happily walked across the courtyard and saw Ting Qingshan under the pavilion. Brother really isn't tired at all. I wonder if he's free. Go accompany little Qing. Thinking of Zhuge Qing, Qingyu snickered. Humph, in a month or so, during the annual sacrifice, father and mother will come. At that time, with Xiaoqing's culinary skills and appearance, her parents would definitely value her highly. Brother, when the time comes, father and mother will talk to you. Let's see what you will do then. There's still more than a month left. I really miss my parents. Qingyu's smile faded as she looked to the west. She had been with her parents since she was young. She had a kind mother and a gentle and stern father. She had eaten her mother's cooking for more than 10 years. Qingyu really missed her parents. Let's wait for another month or so, Qingyu said to herself. The center of the 9 prefectures, Yu State, the county city of Beha County. A few days ago, it didn't snow in Beha County, but today it was snowing. The snowflakes were like goose feathers fluttering and covering the entire world. In the morning, when the commoners of Beha County woke up and opened their windows, they found out that it was already a world of snow outside. The snow on the ground was already 3 feet thick. It could be seen how heavy the snow was. In a remote study room in the Wan residence of Beha County, a total of 18 people gathered. Among the 18 people, there were old people, young people, and women. On the desk in the study room, there was a piece of paper with many words written on it. It mainly talked about the destruction of Tai Yi Hall. Qing Hu Island then attacked Guiyuan sect but failed. Instead, they took a detour to Yi City's Great Yen Mountain and stationed some information. Silence. After reading the contents of the paper, they were silent for a long time. Everyone. The woman wearing a flowery cotton jacket said in a deep voice, "The sovereign and the others are all dead. Now, the most important thing for us is to rebuild Tai E Hall. Luckily, Tai E Hall had made a copy of all kinds of ancient books and records and brought them over. Everyone, prepare according to the plan. It took a long time for a sect to lay down its foundation. For example, it would take enough good disciples. Disciples with good aptitude, comprehension, and perseverance would be able to have good achievements. One must know that only one innate master would appear out of 10 million people. Tai E Hall wanted to have another innate master. The only way was to keep taking in disciples. The more disciples they had, the more fish they would catch. Maybe, after tens or hundreds of years, one innate master would appear. Ching Hu Island. A silver-haired old man with bloodshot eyes gritted his teeth. One day, Tai E Hall will take revenge for all the dead disciples. Even if it takes 100 years, even if it takes 1,000 years, we must succeed. To take revenge, we must. These 18 people were the most loyal ones chosen by Tai E Hall. They were also the most trusted people of Tai E Hall's sovereign Nyerong. The eyes of the woman wearing the flowery cotton jacket flashed coldly. According to the plan, from now on, Tai E Hall will no longer be called Tai E Hall. It will be called Blood Cloth Sect. No matter how many years pass, Blood Cloth Sect will never forget this great hatred. Senior Marshal Sister Hua. A skinny young man said in a deep voice, "This Blood Cloth Sect needs to choose a location, build it, and take in disciples, step by step. Only when the first innate master appears in Blood Cloth Sect will it be qualified to become a decent small sect. As for the appearance of an innate master, it will take at least tens of years to nurture him. It will be considered good if he can succeed in 100 years." These 18 people all understood. Tai E Hall had been annihilated. It would be too difficult for them to make a comeback. But since they were still here, it meant there was a spark, there was hope. Senior Marshal Sister Hua, we are destined to sacrifice our lives for the sect and live an ordinary life. The skinny young man said in a deep voice. He was in his prime, but for the sect, he had to abandon his wife and change his name. He was willing to do it for the sect, but there was still a trace of unwillingness in his heart. We can still take revenge on Ching Hu Island one more time, and we won't be exposed, the skinny young man said. The other 17 people looked at him. Junior Marshal brother, tell us. The woman wearing the flowery cotton jacket said. We must get one of the 9 cauldrons to explore Emperor Yu's treasure. Otherwise, we will definitely die. The skinny young man said in a deep voice, all of us know this. And our Blood Cloth Sect is going to excavate Emperor Yu's treasure. It will probably take a few hundred years. So, I think we should announce a piece of news to the public now. Just say that the army of Ching Hu Island is stationed in the Great Yen Mountain of E-City because Emperor Yu's treasure is in the Great Yen Mountain. Yes. The eyes of the elder wearing the white fur coat brightened as he hastily said, the army of Ching Hu Island is now stationed in the Great Yen Mountain. Once the news spreads, it will definitely attract the greed of many powerful experts. For example, Emperor Yu's hall. Emperor Yu is their ancestor. Will they give up? If Emperor Yu's hall intervenes, the army of Ching Hu Island will probably suffer. If the news spreads, the Supreme Sects will probably send people there. However, the Supreme Sects may not believe the news completely. They won't send many people. And the army of Ching Hu Island has the advantage there. In order to obtain Emperor Yu's treasure, there will definitely be a fight. When Ching Hu Island fights fiercely and has no choice but to compromise with the other sections, they will realize in despair that without one of the 9 cauldrons, they will definitely die in the maze of Emperor Yu's treasure. Good. Not only will Ching Hu Island lose a lot of people in Emperor Yu's treasure palace, they will also make them and the other sects lose a lot of people. As for the other sects, they also covet Emperor Yu's treasure. They can't blame others if they die. These 18 people had just witnessed the tragedy of their own sect being destroyed. When they thought of the death of more experts from the 8 supreme sects, they felt happy. In order to take revenge, these 18 people began to spread the news of Emperor Yu's treasure in various places. It was obvious, a huge storm was about to rise. In this chaotic world, everyone had their own encounters, and every sect had their own encounters as well. For example, the small sects in Shuyang County might be destroyed at any time. Now that Qinghu Island had unified Shuyang County, all the small sects were finished. No one paid attention to them. However, the destruction of Tai E Hall attracted the attention of the people in the world. Because Tai E Hall was much stronger than the small sects in Shuyang County. In comparison, Tai E Hall had existed for over 1,000 years and was much luckier than the small sects in Shuyang County. Those who thought their fate was bad, there were even worse. Those who thought their fate was good, there were even better. The small sects in Shuyang County envied Tai E Hall and Guiyuan sect. Tai E Hall and Guiyuan sect envied the powerful Qinghu Island. They hoped that they could catch up to Qinghu Island and become the strongest in Yangzhou. As for Qinghu Island, they hoped that one day, they could be on par with Mani Temple. Even if they couldn't catch up to Mani Temple, they would first catch up to Emperor Yu's Hall and Ying family. As for humans, the young island lord of Qinghu Island, Gu Shiyu, was born into a good family and had the halo of a genius since he was young. However, when Ting Qingshan rose, he began to feel unbalanced. Ting Qingshan was already very strong. At the age of 17, he could fight against a true Dan innate expert. However, he would not be satisfied. He would continue to pursue the peak. Ting Yongfan was an ordinary man. When he was young, he hoped to have an outstanding son. He didn't hope that his son could catch up to Ting Qinghu, but he wanted his son to be close. However, God gave him a son, and his son's performance far exceeded his expectations. His son even made Tingjia village so strong that the mounted gangsters didn't dare to offend him. If it wasn't for Ting Qingshan, the mounted gangsters would have fought for power a few times. Even if Tingjia village wasn't destroyed, a large number of clansmen would have died. However, it was also because of Ting Qingshan that Gu Shiyu insisted on taking him away today. Was Ting Qingshan's existence good or bad? The answer was obvious in the heart of a simple man like Ting Yongfan. To have such a son, he was very proud. What did people want in life? With such a son, the clansmen of Tingjia village could go out and be envied by the commoners of other villages. That was enough. In this chaotic world, people died every day. Everyone was important in the eyes of their family. No one was more pampered than anyone else. Even the lofty sovereign, and heavenly ranking experts would die if they wanted to. This was the chaotic world. Ting Yunlong had this understanding, so in the past, when many women of Tingjia village were captured by the mounted gangsters, he could only endure. Ting Yongfan had this understanding, so he left with the men of Qinghu Island. Ting Qingshan had this understanding, so when Qinghu Island attacked, Ting Qingshan could only hold the long spear in his hand and fight against the enemy. Emperor Yu's treasure. This was a treasure that could make an individual stronger and a sect more prosperous. Without a doubt, once the news spread, a bloody storm would be stirred up. P.S. 2 chapters finished today. Tomato wrote this to explain one thing. The world of the story of the 9 cauldrons was a chaotic world. A bloody, forthright, and tyrannical world. In such a chaotic world, anyone could die. A war, a treasure, would cause many people to die. Since the bloody massacre of the Great Yen Mountain was named Bloody Massacre, it meant that many people would die in this chapter. Hopefully, everyone could bear it. Of course, many things that were not written were unknown. Would Ting Yongfan die? Not necessarily. Just read on. A large number of military camps were stationed here. In a certain large tent, the 13 inborn experts sat on the chairs. 20 teams and 9,000 silver dragon soldiers have been searching for 4 hours, but there's still no news? The purple-robed lady frowned. This time, there were 20 squads, which meant 1,000 silver dragon soldiers. Adding the scattered 9,000, there was a total of 10,000 silver dragon soldiers searching. Don't worry. I believe there will be news before nightfall. Most of the elders were leisurely drinking tea. Island Lord. Zhao Danshan looked at Gu Yong, who was resting with his eyes closed. Gu Yong opened his eyes and Zhao Danshan continued, "We stationed 30,000 soldiers in the Great Yen Mountain. If the news spread, would it attract the attention of others?" The corners of Gu Yong's mouth curled up into a smile as he said, "Elder Zhao, so what if it attracts the attention of others? The army of Qing Hu Island will first destroy Tai Hall, then prepare to attack Guiyuan sect. Now we are stationed in the Great Yen Mountain. What's the big deal? Even if the other sects knew, they would at most wonder why we are stationed here. Could it be that they will think of Emperor Yu's treasure? If the elders saw that Xiao Yao Palace suddenly stationed their army on a mountain, what would you think of?" Gu Yong looked at the crowd. "I'm afraid I would suspect that Xiao Yao Palace discovered some huge mineral deposits on the mountain." Zhao Danshan laughed. When the elders heard this, they all laughed. The 13 of them knew that it was Emperor Yu's treasure, so they were worried that it would arouse the suspicion of others. If they were really sneaky and were discovered by the other sects, then they would really be suspicious. But now, he had openly stationed the army here. Almost all the sects would think, maybe they discovered a huge mineral deposit and wanted to occupy it. For thousands of years, no one has found Emperor Yu's treasure. No one would have thought that we came here for Emperor Yu's treasure. So, don't worry and be bold," Gu Yong said with a smile. Although he was smiling, Gu Yong was still slightly worried. Will the remaining members of Tai Hall know this secret? Although Gu Yong was worried, he had no other choice. It was impossible to eliminate the roots of a sect that had existed for over 1,000 years and kill everyone. Just like Tai Hall, there were over 100,000 disciples and soldiers in Chu County alone. There were also people stationed in other places. No matter how powerful a sect was, it was impossible to kill every disciple of Tai Hall, which was so deeply rooted. Therefore, it was enough to eliminate this kind of sect by killing all the core members and innate experts. After all, there were only a few post-liminary experts left. Could it be that they could destroy Qing Hu Island with just a few dozen post-liminary experts? If Qing Hu Island was so easy to destroy, it wouldn't have existed for so many years. Find Emperor Yu's treasure as soon as possible and take it away. Gu Yong thought to himself. Island Lord, Island Lord. Suddenly, an excited shout came from outside. A figure barged in without any prior notice. Island Lord, we found an underground lake. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up as he said excitedly. Phew! The 13 innate experts stood up at almost the same time. Gu Yong stared at him and said hastily, Quick, tell me the details. Yes, Island Lord. The middle-aged man took a deep breath and said, This is what happened. This time, one of the 20 teams found a bottomless hole in the weed. Those hunters said that the hole was unfathomably deep and they didn't dare to enter. At that time, 20 silver dragon soldiers went down slowly by relying on ropes and vines. About an hour later, a few silver dragon soldiers escaped from the deep hole in fright. At the same time, a demonic beast also came out of the hole. A demonic beast? The eyes of Gu Yong and the others brightened. Actually, they already knew that the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth was abundant in the place where Emperor Yu's treasure was kept. It wasn't strange for a demonic beast to appear. Since a demonic beast appeared there, it meant that they might have found the right place. That was a stone-piercing beast that was nearly 1 zhang long. When the demonic beast and the soldiers fought, It attracted the attention of the other silver dragon soldiers. A large number of silver dragon soldiers surrounded and killed the stone-piercing beast. In the end, the stone-piercing beast escaped into the deep hole. In this battle, 4 hunters were killed by the stone-piercing beast, 68 silver dragon soldiers died, and over 20 people were injured. It seems that this stone-piercing beast hasn't transformed yet, Gu Yong said. The stone-piercing beast was covered in scales. Its claws and teeth could easily penetrate rock. It was a demonic beast that lived underground. When encountering this kind of creature, the heavily armored silver dragon soldiers met their nemesis. The stone-piercing beast could easily tear through heavy armor. The 2 surviving silver dragon soldiers who escaped from the underground said, "That's right. About 800 feet underground they found an underground lake. It was a very large lake. It was water for at least 10 zhang. Because there was no light underground, they didn't dare to swim too far and immediately came up. But on the way up, they were attacked by the stone-piercing beast." As soon as he said this, Gu Yong and the others were delighted. The original lake was a lake with a circumference of 10 li. Gu Yong still remembered the records in the books. A lake of that size sunk into the ground and was covered by rocks. "I didn't expect that there would be so much lake water. Lead the way," Gu Yong ordered. Immediately, the 13 innate experts rushed to the deep hole. Hundreds of silver dragon soldiers had gathered here. As Gu Yong and the other innate experts arrived, everyone made way for them. "Island Lord, this is the deep hole that leads to the underground." Following the directions, Gu Yong walked to the side of the deep hole. The weeds around the deep hole had been cleared, revealing the dark hole that was 30 to 40 zhang wide. One couldn't see the bottom with a glance. On the soil beside the deep hole, there were dark blood stains and even pieces of flesh. There were many deep ravines on the ground. It was obvious that a great battle had occurred. "Very good." Gu Yong nodded. "Sovereign, what should we do with the hunters?" General Lan asked in a low voice. Gu Yong turned and glanced at him, saying indifferently, "Kill them all." The hunters knew that Qinghu Island was looking for the mysterious palace, and they also knew that Qinghu Island was looking for the deep hole or pool that led to the underground. Therefore, they couldn't be left alive. Although the other great sects didn't know that Qinghu Island was looking for Emperor Yu's treasure. But with Gu Yong's personality, it was best to be cautious. "Yes." General Lan responded. "Also, pass down the order. Order the silver dragon soldiers to set up camp in a radius of 5 to 6 li around this deep hole." Gu Yong knew clearly that 30,000 people couldn't seal off the entire Great Yen Mountain. Therefore, he could only narrow the perimeter. "Send out the order to assemble and execute." Gu Yong gave a few orders in a row. "This deep pool is really cold. It's cold in the winter, but this deep pool is even colder." A few silver dragon soldiers who were searching for the deep hole and pool were looking at the frost jade pool halfway up the mountain. They used their hands to feel the low temperature, but none of them dared to enter the deep pool. "Xiao!" A sharp sound resounded through the sky. The few soldiers raised their heads and looked. "Order to assemble. Let's go. Stop searching and go quickly." The few silver dragon soldiers immediately rushed over. According to the previous rules, once the signal to assemble was sent out, all the teams would stop searching and gather towards the place where the signal was sent out. Moments after the signal to assemble was sent out, "Xiao! Xiao! Xiao!" Soon after, 3 sharp sounds resounded through the sky. This was the signal to kill all the hunters. Chapter 199. In the barracks of the Great Yen Mountain, the young island lord, Gu Shiyu, was practicing with a black long spear in his hand. However, the 3 consecutive sharp sounds made Gu Shiyu turn his head and look at the sky. "Execute them all?" Gu Shiyu frowned. He knew the secret signal. Didn't Ting Qingshan's father die? It was Gu Shiyu's personal decision to capture Ting Yongfan when he went to capture the hunters. Although Qinghu Island thought that Ting Qingshan was a threat, Ting Qingshan was only an emptiness Dan innate expert. The higher-ups of Qinghu Island didn't take him seriously. Although the elders weren't worried, Gu Xiu felt that it was unfair. Ting Qingshan was a country bumpkin. He had just emerged, yet he was ranked first in the hidden dragon ranking, suppressing Gu Xiu. At this moment, Gu Xiu could still bear with it. He still wanted to cultivate hard and surpass Ting Qingshan. However, he soon found out that Ting Qingshan had reached the innate realm. Reaching the innate realm at the age of 17 made Gu Xiu, who had had a smooth journey, unable to bear it. Therefore, he forcefully captured Ting Yongfan with his dark thoughts. If this could lure Ting Qingshan over, Qinghu Island wouldn't mind killing Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan, your father is dead. I didn't give the order. Gu Xiu revealed an evil smile. Actually, your father was quite lucky. Even after his death, 179 hunters were buried with him. In a valley in the Great Yen Mountain, Ting Yongfan and the other hunters gathered with the silver dragon soldiers. In the wild grass of the valley, there was a bottomless hole that was 3 zhang wide. Actually, there were a few such holes in the Great Yen Mountain. Hey you guys! One of the one-eyed silver dragon soldiers shouted. Captain and the others went down. How long will it take for them to come back? Ting Qinghao shook his head helplessly. Lords, we hunters don't dare to go down this bottomless hole. Who knows how long it will take? However, with the strength of the 20 lords, they will definitely be fine. As the new captain of the Tingjia village's hunting squad, Ting Qinghao had seen a lot of the world. He had seen the great leader of the White Horse Gang and the Lord of East City, so he wasn't afraid. Humph! The one-eyed man snorted. At this moment, Xiao! A sharp bird cry resounded through the sky. Order to assemble? The 30 silver dragon soldiers on the ground raised their heads and looked at the sky. Looks like we've found it. The one-eyed man helplessly walked to the entrance of the deep cave and shouted, Captain, assembly order! Let's hurry back. Only the echoes of go back and go back could be heard echoing in this invincible deep cave. Everyone, get ready to return, said the one-eyed soldier. Just then, Xiao! 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 3 consecutive sharp bird cries resounded. The Silver Dragon Army's sergeants, who were sitting on the ground and preparing to get up and set off, were stunned. They knew very well what this signal meant because they had been informed before they came. Immediately, the 30 Silver Dragon Army's sergeants exchanged glances secretly. We have to walk back again. The hunters stood up one by one. Phew! A strong wind blew. Pooh! A swift saber with a cold glint slashed across the throat of a young man. His head flew up and the severed neck immediately spurted out blood. After killing a hunter with a sneak attack, the one-eyed soldier roared, Kill! The 30 Silver Dragon Army's sergeants simultaneously pounced towards the other 8 hunters. The hunters only had simple red tasseled spears, while the Silver Dragon Army's sergeants were well trained. There were 30 of them. If the 30 Silver Dragon Army's sergeants couldn't kill the 9 hunters without heavy armor, that would be a big joke. Pooh! Pooh! Being caught off guard, another 2 hunters were killed. At the same time, the 30 Silver Dragon soldiers spread out in a well-trained manner, as if they were wrapping dumplings. They wanted to encircle the 6 hunters completely. Run! Ting Qinghao yelled. The surviving 6 hunters immediately fled towards the north. Charge! Ting Yongfan roared anxiously because the Silver Dragon Army's encirclement was about to be completed. If they ran any slower, they would be finished. Son of AB** Tsich. A middle-aged man, who was facing danger, held a red tasseled spear and thrusted it towards the attacking Silver Dragon Army soldier with an angry roar. Clang! The tip of the spear pierced the heavy armor but only left a white mark. Phew! The Silver Dragon Army's ruthless saber slashed the hunter's throat. Another hunter died. It was obvious that among the surviving hunters, the The 3 from Tingjia village were the strongest and ran the fastest. You can't escape. With a sneer, the 30 silver dragon army's encirclement was completed. Ting Yongfan, Ting Yongxiang, Ting Qinghao, and the other 2 hunters' expressions changed drastically. The 30 silver dragon army's encirclement began to shrink, closing in on the 5 hunters. Charge! Ting Yongfan yelled and his body suddenly shot up. Puchi! The Damascus steel spear in Ting Yongfan's hand was like a swimming dragon as it smashed towards the silver dragon army soldiers in front of him with an ear-piercing whistling sound. The 3 silver dragon army soldiers in front of him paled and immediately used their sabers to block. Bang! A series of crashing sounds rang out. Ting Yongfan actually smashed a silver dragon army soldier into the air and knocked 2 silver dragon army soldiers to the side. It should be known that when Ting Qingshan was young, his father, Ting Yongfan, was the strongest man in the village. His arms had the strength of over 1,000 jin. After practicing the tiger fist for a few years, Ting Qingshan's physical strength had increased greatly, reaching over 2,000 jin. In addition, because he practiced the tiger fist, his body also had inner strength. The instantaneous explosive force was almost 4,000 jin. Normally, when the strength reached 2,000 jin, one would be considered a second-rated warrior. An ordinary Descartes would only have the strength of a second-rated warrior. Since Ting Yongfan practiced the Great Pillar Spear, his spear art was naturally strong. Among the 30 silver dragon army soldiers, none of them could win against him in a one-on-one fight. However, the opponents had many people and all of them had heavy armor. Let's go! Ting Yongfan shouted. Ting Yongxiang and Ting Qinghao hastily followed. Phew! 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 The 3 wanted to escape. If they could escape so easily, the Silver Dragon Army wouldn't be worthy of being called the elite army of Qing Hu Island. When the 3 soldiers fell, the other soldiers immediately closed up and blocked the gap. Surround and kill! With a cold shout, the sabers slashed over. Facing the large number of sabers, Ting Yongfan and the others became anxious. Pooh! 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 The other 2 hunters only had time to let out an unwilling scream before they died. Clang! 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 All of them practiced the Tiger Fist and the Great Pillar Spear. The 3 men of Tingjia village were nimble and their spear art was swift and fierce. The 3 of them actually blocked many sabers together. Qinghao! Ting Yongxiang kicked the saber that was slashing towards his son, Ting Qinghao, away. Although Ting Yongxiang dodged quickly, he was still distracted because he was trying to save his son. Pooh! A saber left a big wound on his back and blood flowed out. Father! Ting Qinghao was shocked. In this instant the encirclement tightened again. Qinghao, let's go! Ting Yongxiang grabbed Ting Qinghao's waist and exerted force with his right arm. Phew! Ting Qinghao's body, which weighed more than 100 jin, was thrown out of the encirclement. Puchi! The Silver Dragon army soldiers took the opportunity and slashed Ting Yongxiang's chest. Ting Qinghao, who was thrown to the ground, turned his head and looked. He couldn't help but stare angrily and anxiously. The corners of his eyes were about to tear. Father! A painful and mournful cry sounded. F***ck. Ting Yongxiang, who was stabbed in the chest, felt dizzy. He roared and poured all the remaining strength in his body into the Damascus steel spear in his hand. Central thrust! Ting Yongxiang yelled. Xiao! The spear art of Tingjia village consisted of the central thrust and the great spear. As a spear art master, Ting Yongxiang had practiced the central thrust for more than 40 years. The central thrust that he executed at the last moment of his life was as fast as lightning. Clang! The tip of the spear pierced through the mask and the head of a Silver Dragon army soldier. This was the first Silver Dragon army soldier to die out of the 30 people. Ting Yongxiang glared angrily and killed the Silver Dragon army soldier with the central thrust. After that, he stopped moving. Chase after that brat. the one-eyed soldier yelled. "Father!" Ting Qinghao wiped his tears and immediately ran far away. No matter how painful or angry he was, he had to escape. His father had died for him. Otherwise, with his father's spear art as a great spear art master, he wouldn't have died so quickly. Ting Yongfan, who already had 3 wounds on his body, was furious like a fierce tiger. He leaped and waved his Damascus steel spear. He actually smashed a soldier who wanted to chase after Ting Qinghao to the ground. Ting Yongfan immediately stretched out his left hand and grabbed the soldier's ankle like he was swinging a whip. Ting Yongfan grabbed the ankle and smashed it to the ground. Boom! This smash caused the Silver Dragon army soldier's head to be completely shattered. Even his helmet was shaken off. Phew! Phew! The enraged Ting Yongfan waved the corpse of the Silver Dragon army soldier and smashed a few soldiers away. He then swung the corpse and smashed a soldier who was chasing after Ting Qinghao. Kill him! The soldiers were furious. How could there be casualties when killing a few hunters? This was too embarrassing. Ting Qinghao's face was full of tears, but he ran like a leopard. He dashed quickly in the forest, and the 2 soldiers who were chasing after him quickly lost sight of Ting Qinghao. This was because this was the Great Yen Mountain, and Ting Qinghao was the captain of the hunter squadron. Ting Qinghao was too familiar with the Great Yen Mountain. Of course, the most important reason was that Ting Yongfan was restraining too many soldiers. Otherwise, Ting Qinghao wouldn't have been able to escape if a large number of soldiers used their inner strength to surround and kill him. In the forest, Ting Qinghao would occasionally see 2 or 3 soldiers after running for a while. These soldiers were all gathering in the center. After running for a while, Ting Qinghao didn't see any more soldiers. "Father, Uncle Yongfan." Ting Qinghao clenched his teeth and looked back. His father had died for him. What about Ting Yongfan? Although he didn't see Ting Yongfan die with his own eyes, he saw his uncle Yongfan being surrounded by a group of Silver Dragon army soldiers. Ting Yongfan didn't have heavy armor, and the enemy had heavy armor. He would probably be killed by the enemy after killing 2 or 3 Silver Dragon army soldiers. "Father, Uncle Yongfan, I will definitely take revenge. I will definitely take revenge." Ting Qinghao hid in the bushes with a ferocious expression as he said to himself, "I must tell Qingshan about this." Facing the colossal Qinghu Island, he couldn't think of anyone else, except for Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan had never disappointed anyone. Only Ting Qingshan could solve this problem. This enmity must be avenged. Ting Qinghao quickly flew away. P.S. 2 chapters completed. Call for monthly votes at the end of the month. Call for recommendation votes, I'm lagging behind. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.